right, and we are live. Welcome to The Last Word, episode number 83. And it's another glorious Friday. We're back in front of the campfire with some more looter shooter discussion. I'm extremely excited about our special guest, so we're going to get right into it. I want to introduce a Lord who both Ebontis and I had the absolute pleasure of meeting in the flesh at GuardianCon 2019. Not only is Lord one of the most dedicated Destiny players in our community, but he has the Triumph score and the raid completions to prove it. Introducing one of our most passionate and hardcore members of the Destiny community and the guardian of Clan Concerned, fellow Warlock main, fellow friend of IGN Fighting Team Chat, and the Lord of IT who rightfully plugs his Xbox controller into PC when booting up Destiny on Steam.
Oh my God.
Live from Cali, and kind enough to make his debut within the realm of The Last Word, my man, Lord Teasing Teddy. How you doing, sir?
Dang, I don't know what to say. That's like an amazing intro. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here with you guys. You guys are awesome. I know you can't see me, but Controller Master Race is the.
You already know Controller Master Race, baby.
Today. What is this?
It's God's input. It's the way God intended.
It's God's input. Yo, I'm using it, Teddy. I'm using that. I like that. What is happening?
I'm gonna get so much flack for saying that, but it is the superior way to play Destiny, at least in my opinion.
Way. Talk about it. Say it with your chest.
Oh my God.
But no, yeah. Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you guys. I'm here all night.
We have
much love to our keyboard master race, but I got my brother in here, man.
Yeah, we got a lot to talk about, so it's a pretty packed week. So I'm looking forward to this.
Absolutely, I'm sorry I had to change up. I went right into it, man.
That took like no time at all. I may as well just walk out the door. You guys are good. Got your controllers.
I couldn't wait to do that intro. I broke protocol. I had to jump into the intro first.
No, that's totally fine. Yeah, it's been a crazy week. Obviously, we had a little downtime as we were coming to the end of the season, but the info explosion happened day after day after day after day, and now we're here to talk about all of it with all of you. So thank you guys for tuning in. This is obviously, we are live on twitch.tv/Ebontis right now. So if you guys are listening on audio, you guys can catch it live. Watch us on our Twitter accounts to know, because sometimes the times will change. But we will get the audio up, and we can thank Anchor for the audio for the podcast. You guys have been a great host to us. So take a second here and thank them, tell you guys about Anchor, and we will be right back. So, but yeah, thank you guys, Anchor. They've been a great podcast host, helped us get out there. And if you guys are catching us on audio, check us out on video as well. Always fun to watch us live and all the ridiculous faces that get to do what we do in here. So, Season of Dawn. Gentlemen, are we ready to discuss?
Woo! I'm
pretty.
Pretty hyped, slightly hyped, out of your head, good, bad. Where are we feeling? Just like 30,000 foot view, where are we feeling right now?
Let's get Teddy in. Let's get his mindset, pick his brain.
Guests
cautiously
first.
Optimistic.
That sounds like every Destiny.
Osiris and Safe 14 are by far both my favorite characters. Osiris specifically as a warlock.
This is my guy right here.
Yeah, you guys are sad.
And their stories are so intertwined and so great, and I want them to do well with it, but the story isn't enough to carry the DLC. The activity also matters.
Good point.
And if the activity is not rewarding and or very boring, like Vex Offensive, then I think that kind of makes or breaks the DLC. That being said, though, we have The Dawning, which is, I think, almost a month long, and Crimson Doubles, which is a little less popular. So we'll kind of see how that flows into it. But overall, I'm pretty hyped, but not super hyped. My expectations were met, I guess, is a better way of, like, I kind of got what I was expecting. What about you guys?
Cognito, sir?
Yeah, this is interesting for me. Obviously, you know how much I love Osiris. You know, the chat knows. You know, Warlock main as well. It's my brother Teddy.
Yeah.
So, for me, Curse of Osiris always left a bitter taste, and you just wanted more from him. So, are we gonna get right into the trailer part now? Where we going, Because you know I could go, but
I was like, give me overall for the week. How you feeling? Then we'll dive
for the
in
week.
piece by
Okay,
piece,
so
yeah.
I'll shut it down because I'll go crazy. Right
I
now.
know we're getting you. I'm setting that T-ball up.
Setting
We're
it
almost
up,
there.
my man. Listen, I would say at the start of the week, wow, you know what I mean, just wow, and then just hopeful as I went throughout, and kind of in the Teddy mode. Once the stream had let me temper expectations, once I found out certain information, I tempered certain things, and then I'm like, okay, now we got to see. So I kind of went. I started off like super. And then I kind of like got into the Teddy mode where I'm like, all right, we got to see though. That kind of thing. So where are you, E? Just a quick synopsis for you, emotionally, mentally during the week.
Probably been on a similar roller coaster. I mean, we'll get into the trailer. No question that obviously Bungie knows how to hype things up in 120 seconds. But then when we get to the streams and the activities and numbers and information changes that are coming, I mean, it's Destiny. It's going to be a moving target, always is, and it's a $10 season. If you compare it to Undying, I think we're getting hopefully a step in a good direction. So I think the cautious optimism is probably pretty even across the board as we wrap up this week. So as we kind of get our basic 30,000 foot views, I'm going to open the door. Sorry, Teddy, I know you are the guest, but this one's for Cognito because I texted him because I saw the trailer before him.
No, you're good.
And I was like, you're going to want to watch this? And he's like, what? And I was like, go watch the trailer. And then there was all capital letters in my text chat with us, man. So nothing but caps, just blew it up. I was like, dude, stop yelling. But trailer launched, not too surprising, on, what was it, Tuesday, right? Tuesday, the trailer launched, and Cognito, thoughts about the trailer?
The God is back.
You gotta get the
there it is.
The God is back. All right, let me full disclosure. Now I can get into it. The thing about it was, obviously, like I said, with Curse, the bitter taste. I'm such a Warlock man, such a fanboy of this character. I think he's one of the most coolest design characters, and lore-wise, you already know how I feel. So. Obviously everything was leading to it, right? E? I mean, we looked at the tea leaves. We fixed the timeline. You know what I'm saying? Season of Dawn. I mean,
Well, now we know what Dawn's related to, and that's actually not him at all. So
right. But when we saw last week, we did Last Word, and I mean, not last week, but 2 weeks ago, we did last time we did Last Word. We were talking about how excited we were about the solar subclass changes, right? So we're like, okay, and it just. Everything just seemed to point to him, you know what I mean? And I'm just like, okay, if this is not him, this is the greatest tease. This is the greatest, head fake I've ever seen. So to see the cinema, to see him walk out, and I was so ridiculous, Teddy. I was tweeting Oded Fair, who is the voice actor of Osiris. And I said, I know you're there. I know you hear me, Warlock. I know you're there. And I did this a week before because I know he had to come. So to see him, it was great. But to be brutally honest, as much as I'm a fan of Osiris and the Warlock, to see Saint 14 come behind it really took it to the next level. Because, again, Osiris had a little negative connotation with his DLC, not the character, but with his prior DLC. So I think Bungie did it amazing. Just the way they set it up. You see the paradox. You hear the Russian/Greek voice. I'm still trying to determine.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
And yeah,
I think it's Greek.
It's Greek, right? Okay.
I think it's Greek, yeah.
I see the conflict back and forth, so I don't know. But whatever the voice is, it's amazing, and the storyline just seems. I mean, like you said, Bungie knocked it out of the park with the trailer alone. Hype level through the roof. So that's where I was. You saw my text. I was losing it. I was going crazy. It's just a fantastic trailer. So where are you guys at, Teddy? Like what's your whole thing when you saw this
So
trailer?
the Curse of Osiris trailer, which I think we can unanimously say that was the worst expansion they've ever released, or DLC, whatever you want to call it.
Yes,
Not because of Osiris, just there was a lot of other factors. Destiny 2 itself being an issue, but the trailer for Curse of Osiris, that where he like freezes time in the Vault of Glass simulation, that's like hands down, in my opinion, the best thing they've ever put out, like easily, because Vogue and it's the first time we're seeing Osiris in the flesh, and like that was so cool. And then the big letdown that was that DLC, unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately.
But this trailer has kind of that similar similar vibe to it, and I don't know. It just they got me. I was like, this is too good. Like I can't not play this.
That music, Teddy. What about that music?
The music was good. I loved it. I'm a big fan of music in games and movies, and Destiny's always knocked that out of the park with music. So I was excited. And the Osiris music specifically, or his theme, I really like as well. So I'm excited. I don't know. Again, cautiously optimistic. Like, let me get it on Tuesday, and then digest it a little, and we'll be good.
No, fair enough. Now I gotta see E, because E, you saw it before me.
Yeah.
You know, you were sitting on it.
Oh, I knew you were gonna lose your mind. That was the easy part.
Like,
I
shout
knew
out
as soon
to
as
you.
like, shout out to me.
Yes.
What?
Shout out to you for your poker face. Like you're so cool and calm about something I'm gonna go crazy about.
I gotta let you
was
enjoy
amazing.
it. I can't be like, dude, Osiris is there. I was like,
So-
have you? I just said, have you seen it or something like that. I was like,
Yeah.
I wanted you to go because you could have been asleep at the time it takes
Yeah.
you. You probably should have been, but I was just like, you're gonna want to watch this whenever you get to it. But I was trying to stay even keel for your sake.
Oh,
so
you're
you're
perfect,
welcome,
bro. So what about you? Like you first seeing everything, where was your head emotionally?
I can watch that trailer over and over just because I want to shout out, like, it's one of those things where it's like, if you've ever done any editing of video, you appreciate what is done more and more and more. Like, the more you watch TV shows, the more you watch movies, and just the way, like, the frame jumps with, like, every drum beat when they're looking through the different versions of time, and, like, all the little pieces of the trailer. I'm just sitting there, it's like, do, and it's like the drum beats, and it's going through time, and then you have, like, the giant Saint 14 bubble as he's holding it out. And, I mean, for me, just as a Titan main, it's like Saint 14 coming out was just about as big. It's like Osiris I'd seen, and it's like it was awesome to see him come back because he does need some. He needs to get a second chance because not his fault, but DLC not the best time for him. He needs a chance to try and make it a little better, and at a better time. Like he's like, I didn't get to save my friend previously, and that's what he wants to do. And then you see the floating shotgun, you see him grab it, you see the hand come out, and then just like the 14, and you're like, ah! So, no, I loved it. But honestly, for me, I mean, I sat there and broke down. I have like, my videos, I know they're too long, and I honestly didn't care this week because I was breaking it down frame by frame. I'd be like, all right, pause, let's look here. Okay, so we've got this. I literally have a 29-minute video about a 2-minute trailer. So...
The hero we need, but not, or the hero we deserve. I don't know, whatever the phrase is. I'm botching it now, but the hero we need, but don't deserve.
But don't deserve.
That's what it is.
Yeah. So I was like, 29 minutes and 39 seconds. So not a lot of people watched it because it's too damn long, but I don't care.
That's right. Talk about it.
But we got to see potentially like what's going on with the story, having all pieces of Mercury broken, but at the same time. Then we figure out later the sundial is that, and I think normal Mercury is going to look like Mercury. But just like, I love the different ways that Mercury looked through time. That was always a really cool thing, and we got such a tiny glimpse of that in the story. When you get to see past, you see it in the strike all the time, but there's not a lot that deals with the future. The dark, really dark kind of future Vex and very dark version of Mercury, and we actually get to see that kind of potentially in this sector every time we play. So... seeing all the different pieces of Mercury, and then we have 3 timelines that we know about, but this 4th broken, shattered timeline of monochromatic broken glass is... I'm really curious, is that just story related? Are we going to have maybe a boss fight in there? I'm very curious what that's all about. So, trailer itself, ultra hyped, of course, because, I mean, you can't take 2 minutes of a Bungie trailer and not be like, hell yeah, unless you're just, like, not a fan. So, no, for me, the trailer was crazy.
I want to ask both of you, again, I'm trying. It's hard not to keep emotions out of it. But my question again, with just trailer rankings, we're gonna get into the deep dive and the stream. But where do you guys rank this all time? If you have to think about all the trailers, or just think about other trailers that got you as hype for an expansion that Destiny has done. Where would you guys place this?
Taken King has to be in the top 2 for me.
I think Taken King would probably be the top one, just because that opening cutscene is like
so amazing.
It's just so good. But I'd probably put this as like top 3.
This top 3,
specific,
right?
Yeah, no specific order.
It's near the top. Yeah, it's good. I like it.
So you got Taken King. What else you got, Teddy? Just if you're
the Osiris one.
Okay. I got you.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Trailer wise, what about you? The same kind of cadence? Or?
I mean, Taken King definitely up there just for the gravity of his power when you see Oryx's actual power of his ship when what he does is still always one of the biggest. Trying to think of some of the other ones that we've had for other cinematics and things. I'm trying to remember. Rise of Iron was cool. Rise of Iron was actually cool with Saladin and like the Siva and shutting that thing down. Yeah. So, I mean, those are definitely pretty cool. But I think this one showed a lot of potential in the trailer that I think actually I liked. And also some of one iconic character we have not seen and bringing one back that needed it. So I think the characters involved gave it as much weight as many others. Because, I mean, Saladin's cool, but we see him, like, you know, every 3 weeks or every other week, it feels like lately. But we see him a lot. So his trailer was cool, and it was nice to see an old story. But this is, like, now it's, like, in, you know, in the actual lore at this point. And both are huge, massive characters. So it definitely had some weight in there for me with that. So it's up there for sure.
Yeah, I'm in the same pocket. Yeah, definitely Taken King. You know, you definitely remember how epic, you know, Oryx was as a villain, and how true the threat was, and the new enemy type and all that stuff with the Taken. But yeah, man, this just the iconic level of both Osiris and Saint 14. We know the payoffs to the story. We know, and what was dope was the way it was cut with the Saint 14 mission with the the Vex Memorial. It added a lot of flavor to it. So for me, again, just trailer. You know what I'm saying? I have to put it up there. Probably fighting with one or two. I would say probably two, but this is there. So yeah, my three is probably Taken King, this, and Curse. Because obviously that was the first time I ever saw Osiris. So
yeah, I was like, that one's up there for you, just because you're like, it's my guy.
Yeah, Osiris, Vault of Glass by Arguably my favorite raid. It's like, it was just so much going on. It was like, I was going crazy.
Well, and it was also the idea of like, it's the implications of what's happening. Of when it says when you slew, which I'm not sure. I keep hearing that word. I'm like, is that grammar right? But I know they would have checked it 100 times. It just sounds weird. But when he's like, when you slew the undying mind, it's like the implications of you see the wave of energy from the traveler basically stop, and they're trying to actually go back and change time. And I'm sitting there going, okay, some people are going to be mad because they're working with time travel. Everybody gets always angry about that. But two, if this is a point, and even I think Luke or someone said, this is not like the best connection that we wanted in story from season to season, but this is like really a good place for us to start. And I think that could be potentially them not completely like wiping out everything we've done, but also giving them a place if they truly want to build the narrative momentum going into season 9, 10, 11, year 4, 5, 6, all that stuff. This is a point for them where like, okay, we need some place to build from. This is where we start. And I think that's actually pretty cool.
Almost had some Endgame, Avengers, Infinity War Endgame kind of vibes to it with the multiple timeline. Obviously the Cabal now trying to change the effects with the Red War. So I thought that was a little homage, a little touch to that. You know what I'm saying? Have to fix the timeline. What we did affected that. Now, whether or not I like the transition in the game is another story. You know what I'm saying? The trailer was amazing, and shout out to Attic. My only issue was, again, we know how Luke had made the whole point about seasons transitioning into you should have been there moment. We all agreed the Undying Mind was not the greatest transition, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so we were expecting. Exactly. So we were expecting, something. I put it this way. I wish we would have saw in a perfect world just the Osiris part talking to us in game, like go to Mercury. Right?
Yeah.
And then it's like, boom.
Me, I totally agree.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, they're so close. Because, again, the trailer now gives everything up, but you just need that in-game transition to set it up. That's the only misstep I would say happened here. But, that is just me. I don't know where you guys are at with that.
Teddy, what about you?
I mean,
were you on the transition? We didn't have you on last.
I kind of agree with what you said. I mean, it's... The real world transition is awesome, but the in-game transition is kind of lacking. But again, once the Undying Mind came out and we got what we got, and it wasn't this like reprisal of the boss or the strike or anything, that's when I was kind of like, all right, if this is what they're gonna do, I'm gonna temper my expectations. And so again, I kind of got what I expected. I wasn't too upset or too disappointed anyway. But it's,
man. You're a better man than me, brother.
I mean, Bungie's hurt my heart too many times. So I'm getting old. I can't do this anymore.
Well, yeah. We and E had some choice words and feelings last word, regarding that. It's just again. Go ahead, Teddy.
I've gotten too upset too many times at them because I love the game. I mean, that's the real reason. But yeah, we all do. And I rather than getting upset at them, I've come to this place in since Destiny 2 came out, because I think that was a big turning point. I've tried to more understand their line of thinking and their reasoning, and not necessarily to justify it, but just so that for myself, and so I can communicate it to others, to try and understand, like, why did they do this? Why did they do it like this? Why did this happen? And making games is complicated. Like, it's not an easy thing, and I'm sure they have their own constraints. And at the end of the day, they are a business. They got to make money, and that's what fuels their decisions. And whether we like that or not, we can voice our concerns. But it's up
to the strike, to the old Kamar strike.
It's up to them, right?
I was just you already had my Zavala going.
Whether we wanted it or not, we're in a war with the Cabal on Mars. Yeah,
oh, we are at a war with the Cabal again.
Tweet over for
like
a month, but yeah. But yeah, shout out to F. Kaio in chat saying, this is also the moment when you realize, when we saw in the Vidoc back in June or whenever it was, when you see the whiteboard and it says fix the timeline, we're like, that's real.
Yeah.
This is actually, like, this has implications that, like, that little whiteboard of those, like, years of planning, it's like they do have a hope of something that they want to do. So it's, like, really, really cool.
Absolutely. Just got to fix that transition.
Yeah.
I'm still not going to let it go.
No, I mean, I think they got enough crap probably everywhere. I don't think enough people were like, is this it? Like, what? This all we got?
It's the way they hyped it. Like, I got an email from Bungie regarding the Undying Mind and logging in, and again, so I'm not trying to go too hard on them, but the expectation was there. Like, as if something special was going to happen.
Yeah, I was going to say, they said it themselves. So it was on the roadmap.
Yeah, it was on the roadmap. Like, that was the thing that we were expecting.
We should have learned from Arc Week with the roadmap, but still.
I'm holding feet to fire.
I mean,
I ain't letting it go, yo. It was a terrible transition. I'm sorry. Teddy, respectfully, I understand what you're saying. And we know they're independent. And we know the resources are lower. I'm trying to be as respectful as possible. Again, it's just, we talked about it at Guardian Con with a couple of the Bungie guys. And the thing about this game, the reason why we're so, I don't say petty or ridiculous, is just that, this game has some of the most iconic lore buried behind it, even when you do a raid. And one thing I spoke to one of the members of the raid team, I was just like, there's something to be said when you start up Last Wish and you hear Petra Venge's voice, right? And she's explaining what's about to happen. Just those little nuances add so much. If you just give a cinematic, the Aldrin thing, these little things, you know what I'm saying? That, and again, they may be harder to create than I even know, but all I'm saying is that really adds to world building and character building. And I just wish, like I said, if the Undying Mind was just what it was, okay, fine. But if we would have had this Osiris/Saint 14 development in the game told us in a nice transitionary way, I would have been money. I leave them alone. So just, things they can improve on. That's all.
Oh, 100%. I agree. Like, if Osiris showed up, like this week, since it's the last week, and he's like, hey, what you're doing with the Undying Mind is causing these problems. And it literally, just like one line of dialogue would have made a difference. 100%.
Yep. That's all I'm saying.
I agree. Like, but thinking about it now, since we were just talking about it, I kind of also give them a pass because this was the Shadowkeep season. So kind of what Ibantis was saying, that I feel like this is their stepping off point, right, to continue that world building, and also obviously feedback, right? Like, we're saying this is not good, and hopefully the next seasonal transition and the following seasonal transition is a little bit better, since I would imagine the seasons probably have like a 6-month development time. Yeah, it would be my guess, my rough estimate. Yeah.
They did also mention seasons were kind of developed in a combination matter, right? This was already kind of done in conjunction with Shadowkeep, Season of Undying, and Season of the Dawn, correct?
Yeah, they make them in parallel. They work on them simultaneously.
Yeah, I mean, they have to commit to choices long enough in advance in development to be like,
yes,
okay, we have to make this. It's like, okay, we can learn lessons from stuff like 9 months ago, but we can't learn lessons from this transition yet.
Yeah.
I mean, but it was like also Prescott. It was WD is saying like Luke unfortunately painted that amazing picture of Ada One walking in and walking out and all the stuff with the Drifter, and he's like, "Hey, come visit me when she leaves," or something like that. In your mind is like that's what we want, and he said in theory that's what we would love to have, but it's like. Can you tell us when that might be happening? Because if it's like a year down the road, I'm going to pull my expectations way back. Because right now you put them up here, and then you chop my knees off. So it's just like it's just kind of those couple of things that's like they had said, as you said, between the calendar, between his description of that, and then just like hyping it up, and then you finally, if you were to like get your email, and then you log in at home, and you're like, it's the same on level 1, it's the same on level 2. There's no voice difference, and he just comes through the portal. Okay. It's just like, and that's kind of a letdown, but we at least have this trailer. But I think, as you said, Cognito, it almost could have been better if, you log in on Tuesday and there's like, you just hear a voiceover just in orbit saying, and it's just like Osiris talking to you somehow. So they'd be like, hey, what you did with the Undying Mind kind of broke things. Come see me on Mercury. You fly in, and then you see that cinematic. I know they're doing the cinematic for sales. People get hyped.
Yeah, absolutely.
But also in turn, like, I kind of wish they didn't because that would be almost a better transition. That would be cool. So, I don't know.
I agree. But we digress.
Yeah, so that we've definitely looked at the trailer. A lot of it. I've broken it down a lot. We'll cover more pieces as we go. But the second thing we got on a Wednesday, the stream. So who watched this thing live? Who caught it later? What'd you guys think? Did you guys enjoy? How would you rank the stream? Was it good? What'd you guys think? Whoever wants to get it going.
Let's get Teddy in.
I think it was one of their weaker streams, but that being said, I don't think it was like bad. I think it was more weak simply because they didn't show as much as they normally do. Which anecdotally, from experience, that's usually not a good thing when they're kind of coy with information, this close to release at least. But I don't know, right? Like we didn't really see enough of the sundial for me to make like a full assessment of it. Just enough of it that I was like, all right, I'm interested now. If it's like Menagerie, then I guess I'll be okay. But I don't know. It was kind of meh. Like if I had to rank it, I'd probably say it's like a 7 out of 10. Like it wasn't bad, wasn't great.
I feel you, bro. I feel you, man.
How about you guys? What do you think?
What about you, Cognito?
Let me see. I'm very conflicted with this. I think Teddy nailed it. For me, obviously, the aesthetic. I started to see the Saint 14 kind of armor sets and stuff like that. I thought that was cool. I thought Sundial looked cool, looked like it had a potential. I mean, anything that's Menagerie-esque, at this point, I'm going to be a fanboy of. I love that activity. I think it's one of the greatest activities going. It was cool to see the Curse of Osiris weapons, come back. I thought that was really cool. Obviously as a Warlock main, I wanted to see a lot of the solar subclass stuff in action. So getting to see the little 3 fireballs go across the map.
That looks so cool.
Woo! I was like, okay. So I started off high. I was actually really cool. That we got some artifact breakdown. I'm starting to understand the logic behind where they're going with that. As far as it almost feels like induced meta changes where it's like, hey, you try these things out because these mods are going to be here. And I actually don't mind it because I think as Destiny players, we kind of get locked into our loadouts and we get locked into comfort. The Izanagi Recluse, Swarm of the Raven loadout.
Midnight Coup is probably the prime example.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, so that's that. I mean, as far as now, this is where I'm totally in agreement with Teddy is that, after the Sundial thing, they showed, maybe I forgot what other things they showed, maybe 1 or 2 other things, but it ended so abrupt to me.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like I felt like I was in pocket. I felt like I was gonna get like another 20 more minutes or so. And it was just like, okay, boom. And to Teddy's point, I've never seen them so secretive, so non-revealing. We'll talk about Pinnacles and all that, later about, they will be there. But, it just felt like, And then let's be real, the elephant in the room, at least for me, it was Trials of Osiris, right? So coming in, but before this, I kept expectations low. Trials was on hiatus. They've told us a million times, blah, blah, blah. Okay, fine. Now we getting the Osiris tidbits, the breadcrumbs. You see the trailer. You're like, maybe. Then you see in the trailer 3v3 elimination map. Maybe, right? And it's like, then you hear, through the scuttlebutt, shout out to Reddit and everything, Real Crafty and these guys, the hardcore Trials guys, going to Bungie. Maybe, right? As a Trials fan, I'm sitting there, as a PvP guy, I'm sitting there like, yo, this might happen. So now I'm getting there. Now, right before the stream, shout out to Fallout, and I believe Miss 5,000 Watts. And they brought me right back down there.
Yeah, they're flying out later.
They're flying out now. And I'm like, oh, because I'm thinking they're gonna show Sundown, but they're gonna have like a classic Bungie PvP guys, set up with and all the classics. So I'm like, okay, so they're not there. Okay, that means if they're coming in, that means Trials ain't this season. So I really shot myself back down. But even shotting myself back down to no Trials, I have to agree with Teddy again. It just felt so abrupt and like they just weren't going to reveal a lot, and that could go two ways, right? That can go like, hey, we ain't got much to show, so we're gonna stretch this out, or it could be like it's really packed and we just want to try a new approach. So I'm gonna give it to you, E. I've been rambling. I didn't get a chance to speak to you since stream. I don't think we talk much post stream, and I gotta know where your head's at with this stream.
Well, first thing we got, it is nice, and as somebody, I forget who said it in chat, just it was Agent Grizzly. The excitement the Bungie developers have, the writers have for the story, working with these characters. That one, it was like when they started out talking about it, like the hype that those two, I think the first two on the chairs had. Yeah, that was cool. Like, because we get to see this world that they've built, and these developers are just like ultra pumped about it. And it's nice to know that, hey, we're excited about seeing Osiris and Saint 14, and they're sitting in the same boat. They just get to make it. So. Yeah. They're having a really good time on that front. So that was actually cool. I'm like, okay, so we're talking about the lore, but we haven't seen any gameplay yet. Cool. Then Tomo comes out, and then I forget who he was sitting next to, but they went through a little bit more of the Hunter, and they were showing, we got to see the character. We're looking at 960 power, and I'm going, yes. What does that mean? Is it none? Is it a little bit? What are we doing? But we didn't get any answer on that, so trust me, when it ended, I was like, and then finally I saw on like Twitter that it was going to come tomorrow. I'm like, because I worked tomorrow. I worked the next night, so I was like, I'm going to have to wait till the end just to see it. So that was like kind of the that part. But then we got to dig into Artifact, which after breaking it down, we got to see they're going into more range. So we did get to see that we've got scouts, pulses, snipers, linear fusions, bows, kind of all ranged precision hits for all of the mods. For Unstoppable, for Barrier, autos are going to be your overload. I broke most of it. Doesn't look like they've like ventured far though, because if you break down the other couple of columns, the ones they didn't go too deep into, they did the new one with the healing orbs. So healing orbs for yourself from precision hits. I'm like, that seems odd because you have to precision shoot something from far away, but then you get an orb that sits way out there that you have to go get. And I'm like, that's kind of weird, but we'll have to see how that one plays out in real. But then you get to see it's like the variations aren't that much different. You've got Breach Refractor that was just grenade energy. Now it's grenade and melee energy, but it's a little costlier. Instead of Arc Battery, it looks like it's a Void Battery. And they may be placeholders, but this far along, I'm guessing it's probably pretty close. So it doesn't look like they're really changing the game. I mean, the Heavy Finisher, which I don't think I ever heard anybody hardly use. Yeah. Because it's just too costly, and unless that thing's just a little tweaked, it still doesn't seem like it's worth it. And they haven't even like put anything else in there. So for me, the Artifact was like, hey, what are going to be the new mods? Are we going to play any different more builds and play styles? And it honestly looks just going to be like, hey, solar variation on a couple of things, but Void's still in there. So it's not really a big departure, which was kind of...
He is not feeling that Artifact.
I like the theory behind it, but like for them to say, hey, we can put game-breaking things in there for 3 months, and then, we know it's going away. It's temporary. It doesn't seem like they stepped too far away from like their little comfort zone. It doesn't feel like they ventured very far with creative mods, at least from what I could see. And then the other thing, we got to see the new mods. Now that has me intrigued. The new armor mods.
Yes.
So we've got the new mods with regards to getting charged with light and then consuming the light for these different abilities. A couple of them sound fairly cool. Some of them are going to cost you stats, which is an interesting trade-off. Like, to use one of them, it's going to cost you -10 discipline. So there's all that going there. So they're definitely getting deeper into the builds on that side, which I am intrigued about, because armor for me always getting to be more fun is definitely something I'm looking forward to. I still have issues with armor 2.0, but that's a thing. And then we get to the sundial. I'm like, cool. So we got the opening section. I'm like waiting to see these different zones. Okay, we're going into the future Mercury, and then bam, it's cut off. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? I was in the same boat, like for both you guys. It was just like, how does it go from here's the build, here's the armor, and as you're seeing like 37 minutes into the stream, and it just like dies. And I don't know how they could go that hard to just buy. That was either a producer or somebody who wrote the program for that like stream was like, I don't know what to put at the end of this. Just cut it off. Like, I was like,
just to recycle the trailer.
Yeah, I don't know.
Just, it felt weird.
There could have been some other recap at the end, like, hey, we do. And I think I heard this. Like, I did listen to. Shout out to DCB. I just listened to him today because it was like working around the house. Salute. And for even them, it was just like, hey, this could be a time even just for Deej to say, it's like, some of you may have questions about power level. We're going to have some details tomorrow. Some of you may want to see the ritual weapons. We honestly want to surprise you with those. These things will exist, but at this point, we're trying to keep things a little bit more of a mystery as we go into this next season so you guys can experience it, because we have had some feedback say that maybe you've told us too much up front. They didn't show us exotics, so there's no teasers about those. No exotic armor. So I mean,
wait, hold on. Did we get the gun though? There was a gun. There's like that
there's a couple. Yeah, there's a couple guns.
Trailer,
they haven't
though,
shown,
but in the trailer,
they haven't shown the armor. Like we got to see the veil on the hunter before and stuff. So they're being a little more cagey with some stuff. And honestly, just occasionally, if you were just like, we want you guys to enjoy some of the surprises, so let us know your feedback. But honestly, at this point, and that may be almost too candid for Deej to say, but something along those lines in Deej speak would have been kind of, I think, a better way to end it than just, and that's all we got, and we'll see you later. Like, just a calmer transition out of it to say, we do have more to show you. There's more for you to see once you log in on Tuesday. It just felt a little odd, I think, on the end.
Teddy, are we going too hard, man? Are we
No. I'm a listener, so I'm enjoying it. But I've got some thoughts on the mods and the artifact.
Let's go, Teddy. Let's go.
Get it. Let's do it.
So the new mods. So I'll ignore the artifact for a second. The charge with light mods. From what we saw, we didn't see a lot of them, but from what we saw on paper, they seem very interesting and very usable. But we'll have to see the effects if they're worth it. But that leads me into another problem that you kind of touched on, which is Armor 2.0. So when they advertised Armor 2.0 to us, they basically told us, and this was in Luke's developer commentary, this was in their Vidocs leading up to Shadowkeep, they were like, play the game the way you want to play the game. Now, if you compare Destiny before Shadowkeep, you could pretty much put any set of armor on, and it worked. Like, perks aside, like you needed good rolls, but effectively you could put any piece of armor on it, it would be fine. But now, with Armor 2.0, you're fighting so many levels of RNG to get a not a god tier piece of armor, a usable piece of armor, and I'm pigeonholed into, well, I have to get this element, I have to get this, I have to get this, and then all of a sudden this new season comes out and it's like, hey, we got these new awesome mods, and unlike last season, they work everywhere, but all that armor you grinded for that's like kind of okay or maybe god tier, it's kind of useless now because the mods don't like work on that. And I get it. They want us to keep playing the game, and that's, that is part of their, I'm sure, some metric or goal that they have, whatever. But that, I think, really put a sour taste in my mouth when they were like, yeah, you have to get the new armor again. Regardless, I'm going to grind the armor, but that's beside the point. And then you have the artifact, which I'm really torn about the artifact because on the one hand, I really like the idea of this thing that you level up every season and the power goes away. But on the other hand, I also don't like that.
Tell me why you don't.
It triumphs. That's really the problem.
Yeah, good point.
That's what it boils down to is I have to get to rank 20 every season, and if that, those 3 months I'm busy and I don't have the time to grind bounties endlessly, that affects me negatively.
20 or 200?
20. You have to get 20 to get the max triumph
Gotcha.
The tier 3 of that triumph, which goes away at every season because the triumph is specifically for whatever artifact that season is tied to. And then the mods and the artifact, so the way they advertised that to us was, these are mods that we'll put in the game that are kind of experimental, which that's true. They did put in some pretty experimental mods. And then the specific line that I'm referring to is, at the end of the season, we'll look at what mods worked and which ones didn't, and we'll put some of them in the game as permanent mods.
Yes.
There was no mention of that at any point. Now, I'm not saying that, what is it, the grenade buff one and the arc one should be in the game. Oppressive Darkness, thank you.
And Thundercoil.
Thundercoil. I'm not saying those should be in the game. I think those need to be out of the game. But there are some other ones on there that I think would permanently be good additions to the game. But they haven't said anything, so I'm kind of like, are you just scrapping that idea altogether? Is this just a one and done thing? And then lastly, you touched on the weapon part. I kind of like when they're like, hey, these are the weapons for this season. We're trying to kind of induce this meta, if you will, by forcing players to use these weapons. But I also don't like that, because if the weapons end up being like pretty bad archetypes or weapons that just need some love, it really limits what you can do, especially in the PvP sandbox, right? Like if the auto rifle is the focus, I'm not going to put an auto rifle on a PvP, let's be honest. Like, that's not but like
Talk about it.
But if we need to, for whatever reason, for something, a triumph or a bounty or whatever, it just it makes the game less enjoyable. And then we kind of talked about this before the stream, but my effort to progress in something actively makes me a detriment to my teammates in PvP and PvE, because I have to have this bad loadout on, it's a whole other rant that I could get into. I'm not gonna go down that road, but that also kind of bothers me. But I'm kind of cautiously optimistic, because I might be worried, but then nothing might come of it, right? Like it won't matter. I'm only gonna have to put it on for the nightfall or something. Right. Which, since the power is going up, that might also not be a problem anymore.
Yeah,
I was like, I need to literally make that list into bullet points, and let's start breaking them down. So
he is killing it.
I was like, so we started on, like, Armor 2.0 for me is an issue, like, because I'm with you. You have the RNG of, I finally got a legendary piece of Iron Banner armor to drop at like 60 points, and it was actually usable. And I was like, thank God. That's like one of my first ones this season.
Wow.
That's actually not trash stats.
When I get 20 plus mobility, I'm like, I can't use this. It doesn't matter. Like I got like a 65 or 67 piece of armor in Reckoning the other day, and I think 20 plus of it was in mobility, and the other 20 was in strength. And I'm like, I can't. Well, like, really?
Really?
Yeah.
Like, anyway, sorry, I cut you off.
No, you're good. Trust me, because I've been in the same boat. But I was like, I finally get one piece, and that is Season 8 Iron Banner armor, which will not use these new mods. So I'm like, throw that out. Like, I'm just kind of going, okay, so as you're saying, like, major issues I've got with like the mods, Armor 2.0 is like exotic armor in theory. Like, honestly, the idea of kind of buy exotics already, you have to try and get a roll of good stats anyway. Then you have to try and get an exotic to drop that you want.
Good point.
Why does it even have an affinity on it in the first place? Can't it just be like rainbow affinity or whatever you want to call it? Like, it should just, I don't know the proper term, but like use like RGB or whatever, like RGB armor. Just like pick your poison. But like exotics, if you want to go full, especially like if you're going for like nightmare hunts or anything like that, the give and take there of why do I want to do a little less here for a little more there? Let me use the exotics and like have just the exotics, go throw that extra slot out there and be like that, asterisk, just like seasonal slot. Exotics just work, because it's hard enough to go for, hey, I finally got a Crown of Tempest. Its stats blow. Never mind. And then I may get another one later on that I might use. So it's like, I just like to see armor get that. And then you talk about the seasonal mods of like, okay, I just got that 60 stat, but it's not going to work with the new mods with this charge with light, which sounds like it has potential, because there's one, the higher the charges you get, I don't know, what did Cryptic say? I'll get to that in a second.
Yeah, he said if you moved your cam slightly right, your mic would look like Saint 14.
Here? This?
Yes. Yo! I'm done. And there goes the sponsorship. Yo, Cryptic, that was hilarious.
The new YouTube algorithm just led this one got marked not for kids, by the way.
Yo, Cryptic won. That was the comment of the year. That's hilarious.
Anyway,
I can't unsee it now.
Yeah, I can't unsee it. Like, Cryptic now got me messed up now. I can't even unsee it. Damn you, Cryptic.
This is why you have an audio version. That's why dramatic is here. Oh, God.
Continue. Oh, my God. That's too funny.
But yeah, it's like you also have things like, they haven't mentioned the giant pain that is exotic weapons that can't use mods, period. So you have things like Suros for overload rounds. You've got Graviton Lance, which I wouldn't mind using because pulses are coming, but I can't go slap anti-barriers on it to hit it from far. So all of those things not touched. And those are all quality of life things. No, it's like
they
those
are
just
doing
a
the
lot
exotic thing.
They are doing
the faded engram change.
Yeah,
exotic
is,
engram
those
change,
are good. We'll get
which
to
is
that in the
positive,
twab
right? Like
stuff,
that. I mean, it's not amazing, but it kind of band-aids the problem.
Yeah. Well, you got some opinions there.
Yes,
I'm
I'm
going
gonna
to jump in.
Yeah, I'm torn because with the exotic part, I see what. First of all, I agree with both of you in reference to exotic affinity. I think that's first of all affinity in itself. I feel at this stage we should have some kind of resolution in terms of we know there's this extra layer of RNG. So why don't we have a resource, maybe if it's shards or prisms, to change said affinity to work with a build you want? So at least you have that flexibility, right? So that's one. Two, this is the part I'm torn as far as artifact mods in pertaining to the specific season and exotics. There's part of me that loves the fact that they are limited to legendary and that we get a chance to mess with the meta and in the sense that, okay, because here's my thought process. There's part of me that says, yo, I'm going to get to try different guns just to try different things. Yes, it is force. It is mess. And Teddy's point, it is constraining you to a specific way of playing that may not be helpful to your teammates sometimes. You know what I'm saying? I will agree with that. However, there's another part of me that says, well, if we do open it up to exotics, you know, how crazy could it get? Like, I mean, I'm torn, man, because part of me is like,
that's
really
all
want to
PvE, though. It's like, that's not going to hurt. Like, you're telling me if you go run through a Nightfall Strike and you're like, oh, maybe I want to go throw anti-barrier on my Risk Runner. Just to run a little different than you want. I mean, again, you're looking at like the whole idea of Recluse being this overwhelming force, and yeah, they're going to try and push him away from that with more ranged focus. But then in turn, if I have to go through anti-barrier mons on, and if say we're running a Nightfall, and I'm not going to go depend on the other two, whoever I'm going to get paired up with, I'm going to need some type of auto rifle. Say it's overload, and I'm running that type of strike, and then I need anti-barrier unstoppable. I'm not, and I can't use. That's 2 slots. Can't use an exotic in either one. And that's where there's quite a few options. Guns, again, older ones, like Sweet Business, like Graviton Lance, like Suros Regime, that could give you a lot of variety. And again, these are guns that we've been holding on to for a while that I just like to have a reason to use.
No, you're right. You're not wrong. I think where I struggle, where I'm kind of playing the company line now, is that
Shill.
I know. Let me shill for Bungie. Let me get my shill on. Where I do worry for balance with them, because again, if we got the Sweet Business, like for example, scouts are running around. Like if we got Polaris Lance running around with Unstoppable and stuff like that, I do worry how strong that is, like how really powerful that is in conjunction with the other intrinsic exotic perks. So from balance standpoint, maybe they're saying to themselves, we don't want to open it up just like that because we can't control. They could start melting stuff. You know what I'm saying? Because we all know, since Season of Drifter with the Reckoning and all that stuff and all the nerfs we got, to a lot of exotic armors and Skull Dire, Makar and stuff like that, they're on this thing where they don't want us melting things. They don't want us just tearing through content. And I think part of me does side with them a little bit, just a little bit. From a player standpoint, it's fun, right? You get your build, you throw on your Huckleberry, you throw on your Wrist Runner, if SMGs are the season to do whatever. And you can have, okay, go, jump in, go ahead, stop.
No, I just have a counterpoint to this because
let's go for it.
The only function of these mods is to literally break shields, stop an unstoppable in their track, and overload the same principle to stop them from moving. If the guns in and of themselves are balanced, that shouldn't be a factor at all. So really what you're trying to do is just tell me it's like, we don't want you using exotics in your PvE loadouts.
Yeah,
that's kind of how how it feels to me, because if they feel like those guns are balanced, then they do these sandbox sweeps and they'll do them again. If Graviton Lane's got a 30% buff, but I can't go use it when pulse rifles are going on, my mind's going, what the hell?
Yeah. No, listen, from a player standpoint, I feel you. It's more fun that way, and it's definitely, something that it would make me use. I will say this to your defense. Like, let's say this was the sidearm. He's like, I'm agreeing with you. Yes,
All right,
and by the way, Teddy, I know we're
I
talking. I was going to say, I know we're talking and I can hold my hand up, but Teddy, feel free to just be like,
please
if you
jump in, please,
in.
because we will. Yeah, please jump in, Teddy. But the thing I would say is this: like in seeing your point, with, let's say for example, this was a sidearm season, right? And sidearms had the thing. It would be cool to dust off Rat King, right? And
would
throw
Would it?
I was like, go ahead, Teddy. I'm trying to see his side. I'm trying. I'm leaning towards.
No, you had a Polaris Lance. If Polaris Lance is in the game as is, if you can use it anyway, all I'm gonna do with that thing is just break some champion mechanics, and then I'm still gonna have the same gun. That's all it does. And they honestly, like, I was kind of curious if we were gonna get something besides Overload, Barrier, and Unstoppable. Those are still identical. Yeah. They're just on different enemies. We've now got Cabal and the Sundial and things like that. But the exotics, I was like, Teddy, come on, we got to
jump in. I heard you chomping, Teddy. Come on.
I've got a couple of things. So let's start with the Infinity, since that's kind of where we're at. So I think Infinity's got to go, just like flat out. I think it's got to go. At first, when they announced it, I was a little upset about it, and people were kind of like digging into it, and they were like, okay, which mods work on what? And then it came out, and we got our hands with it, and we were like, okay, I can kind of see what they were going for. But then they put out this Bungie update where they attempted to justify the Affinity system, and that's when I was like, this is the dumbest reason in the world. I'm sorry, like.
Get him, Teddy. Let's go.
So, for those people who don't know what you're talking about, please refresh them.
Oh, I'm gonna get there. So, they basically said that the reason that you cannot equip mods to any mod to any affinity is that the menu was too confusing. There were too many things in the menu, and I immediately loaded up my inventory with 50 shaders, inspected an item, hit down on the D-pad because I play on controller.
Control Master Race.
Control Master Race. Opened up the shader menu and was like, "Look, I've got 50 shaders right here. You think this is too confusing for me? This is the same menu that the mods use. There's nothing different about this menu. Like it's the exact same menu. So what about this is confusing for the mods? Like I just didn't understand the reasoning. So when they said that, I was like, all right. This is just one of those Bungie things where their philosophy's kind of set, and they're not going to change it. And the only way that I can understand it is if I sit down with one of them and talk to them and be like, all right, give me your reasoning. Like, why do you think this is right? And that might happen at Guardian Con or other things.
Oh yeah, we're going to track them down. You know how we do.
Yeah.
But early and late and night bar talk and all that fun.
Oh yeah. We will pick these answers down.
That's one of my big. My big gripes is that's got to go. Like I especially because they flat out were like, we want to give the player this. We want to give them the way they want to play, right? But that's somewhat ironically. And there's been a couple Reddit posts about this the past couple days, where it's like you don't actually have choice. It's kind of this weird illusion of choice where you think you have a choice, but you don't have choice. You've been limited more, and in this weird way. So this is a huge tangent. So in Destiny. I personally call this the Thanos effect. So this is going to take some explaining.
Let's go.
Do it.
So when you have something, when something in Destiny is super powerful, let's say Mountaintop Recluse, Swarmer the Raven, that meta, right? And we were just melting things. We were destroying things. Our expectation and our mindset for how something should be murdered in Destiny is now X speed, right? Like it's this boss dies this fast because I have this loadout with my teammates. I'm gonna get it's gonna get technical.
No, let's go. I love it.
So because I know how fast that thing is supposed to die, and I've killed whatever boss X amount of times, Y amount of times, and then they go, hey, all these things aren't stacking, all these debuffs and buffs aren't stacking. We're nerfing, auto reloading, which I'll give them that one. That needed to go.
Yeah.
But all these things are changing, and now all of a sudden I've become this little like school kid on the yard who's trying to like beat up the big sixth grader, and it's like, well, I'm looking like Baby Yoda out here, kind of looking up at my mom. Like, it's just, it doesn't make sense, right? And the reason I call it the Thanos effect is because you can't unknow what you've experienced, right? You can't. And if you're a new player, like, you'll never get to experience that, so that's not an issue. But for us as veteran players, and I think both of you have played Destiny 1 since the beginning, it's kind of weird where you go through these phases of like, we know how one thing is supposed to work, and then they change it because we're monster killing machines, to use their verbiage, and they don't like that, right? We're killing these things, and sometimes I agree with them. Like Recluse Mountaintop, that was too good, that had to go. But then sometimes too, I'm like, is it really that bad if I murder the thing that fast? Like, does it really, especially in PvE, right? Like, does it really matter? Like, who does this negatively impact if I kill the boss before he does his mechanic? Not me, right?
Don't get me started on the damn fanatic in that strike. I'm gonna lose my mind if I do that again.
Yeah, I don't want.
I got my shield response to you when you finished it.
But there's one other point I wanted to make. I think it was. What did you say after the affinity? I'm sorry, I blanked here.
I think we're talking affinity, then we're talking exotics as far as mods being able to be placed on them as well.
Oh, to play devil's advocate, I think that they won't. You kind of touched on this. I don't think they will add the seasonal mods to the exotics for fear of something getting broken. But here's my devil's advocate point.
Let's go.
Destiny's PvE is at its best when things are broken. Hot take.
Hot take.
And when I say broken, I don't mean like something is not functioning correctly. I mean like we are mountaintop reclusing everything to death. Like that is when PvE is at its best, right? Because you're building a monster killing machine, right? It's there's this little known game called Diablo 3. I don't know if you guys have played it.
Yes.
It's made by an indie studio. They did a lot of things right, and they did a lot of things wrong. And you kind of touched on this with the re-rolling of the affinity. Actually, this is what I wanted to get to. So, so Diablo didn't get a lot of things right at the beginning, just like Destiny. In fact, they have a very similar parallel story, and it's been known that Blizzard did help Bungie during the early days of Destiny to kind of get them back on track, right? In Diablo, there are so many different systems and mechanics that allow you to re-roll something, whether it's a stat or an ability or whatever, right? And I'm not saying they got it right the first time on everything. It took them a long time to get where they are.
Yeah, absolutely.
But Destiny is much simpler than Diablo, and I don't see why there shouldn't be like a glass needles type thing or some mechanic, right? Where it's like, hey, I got this, Crown of Tempest that dropped for me, but it's not the affinity I want. Let me just pay some cost and let me re-roll it, right? Or have a rainbow affinity on exotics. Like, why does it seems such a bizarre design choice, and I don't understand it. That's why I want to talk to them and like try and understand it. But you had a counterpoint to me, so let's
I
hear
had a
it.
counterpoint to the first part, but I'm with you on the second part. Like I am in pocket with you on the second part. Like you just took me back to glass needles, and again that's to nullify the penalty of double RNG, right? Give the player
it's not just double; it's more.
Yeah, you're more. I'm being nice, right? It's more than double RNG. So it's like, give us that ability to say, hey, I like, especially exotics, because let's be real. The drop rate for exotics right now are so, small, you're stuck with what you're stuck with. You know what I mean? So if it's not the affinity you need to your build, you're screwed. I mean, it is what it is. So that's the first part. I'm in complete agreement. I guess the other part, again, I'm chill time. Like, I know how they think, man. Their whole thing, and they said it time and time again, as far as boss melting. And listen, it's some of the funnest things ever. I enjoy it. When you got some good strats and, stuff like that, as far as stacking the abilities and stuff like that, no doubt it's fun. But I think their fear, it's not even a thing, I know their fear is us running through content as fast as we are. And it sucks as a hardcore player. I do understand your sentiment, Teddy, because it sucks as a hardcore player because you know what you used to be able to do, and it's not like you've been brought down to your example, like sixth grader status against a bully. But for the sake of, balance, I rather it than them creating artificial things like the Reckoning. Like, to me, the Reckoning was a pure example of they don't know how to control us. So, because we got these crazy strats and we stacking these abilities and we've got these powerful things. So now let's put snipers all the way on both sides, attacking you, forcing you to do wells and stuff like that. And I think from a design constraint, and maybe they just got to get better at it. They just don't know how to handle things. And I think this new mentality, when it started from that, and now it's trickling down into this with the execs. Like, it could be fun, but if these guys come up with these combos, you know what I'm saying? We won't be able to control it. And we're trying. I think they're in this stage where they're just honestly trying to control and space out the content. And some people are going to have an issue with that. Some people are going to feel it's artificial. But I think that's just where I think that's where the mindset is. I'm not saying I completely agree with it all the way, but I think that's where the mindset is. But let me let you go, Ian.
No, I think I agree with that. I think that's pretty spot on.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I kind of agree with you guys on all those fronts. It's like, but in turn, it's like, it's not a test server. I know they're never going to have that as an option. You have Steam, people other do test servers, but it's like, could they, like, I feel like the exotic armor would be a harder thing to put mods into than exotic weapons, even. Because the weapons themselves could be, they're still, like, they balance those by damage numbers and mechanics and what they do. And again, just the mechanics of all the weapon ones, all you do is either get a faster reload by your armor that you put somewhere else, or you break a shield or break a barrier or whatever that is. If you go to the armor side, then you see things like Thunder Coil paired with Oppressive Darkness on a Crown of Tempest, and that's not even the right combination of elements there, but all those things could be game breaking. So I could see them doing baby steps at least a little bit, but I'm also to the point of, like, the affinity that you have so many RNGs, because you have to try and get the exotic.
Yeah.
That's hard enough. Then you have to try and get a good stat roll, and the ranges on those stats can go all over the place. So that's 2 already. 3 is you have to get
helping us out.
And then, yeah, Zer's useless. And then you've got where the stats roll. That's 3. And then when you add affinity onto that, as Teddy was saying, you're like, oh, that's like, we're just, we're past cubing at this point. We're at too high of a power. The exponent is too high. It's just way too many multipliers. And it's just like, oh. Because, I mean, they say if you want player choice, but as you're saying, like, the player choice, I feel like there was the little graphic running around. I've seen it referenced in a couple different things. And it's the graphics of the little mouse, like, crawling over the top of the maze.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody saw that on Twitter in the last week or so. And it's like game developers, like, make the maze, and then speedrunners, like, rock across the top of it and go all the way over. It's like, that stuff's always going to happen. And there are... And they look at the datos and they look at like the people who break down the numbers, and he's not one who even typically breaks the game,
right.
But even ones who like speedrun or 3-minute and stuff like that, it's cool to watch. But the amount of your overall player base that might actually break the game versus the people who casually log in, don't have 112,000 triumph score,
118,000.
Talk about it.
So yeah, I didn't know the number. I was just guessing. But it's like that number versus like all the free people. How many people like look at my video of how to level up and be like, hey, this is like a new player coming in just constantly, still going to come in. They don't know about half of that crap. And for them, they just have like 17 RNG random rolls of systems to be like, I don't even understand. It's not fun. I can't pick what I want to. And then how long do you keep them around? It's like I think one of the things that shot Division 1 the most early on was catering it too much to streamers. Because it was the economies, and they made them a lot harder to get, and then the average person who doesn't play like a crazy amount of hours wasn't able to keep up with like the crafting and stuff like that because the gear, the materials were so hard to come by. And then in this, it's like we don't have materials, but we have so many dice rolls that come into it. It takes a normal person like a chance to get 1 or 2 exotics so much longer than the person who's running 980 Nightfalls with a stacked group. It's like, and so what if they break it? How they want to try and get people into the game. More and more people into this thing. That's why we'll get to the power level stuff a little bit later, which is a completely different conversation. But all of those pieces, it's just like they're trying to spin too many plates, and then they try to handle the plates to the player, and and it's just like it's too much. So
yeah, I mean, like I said, the only thing I get, I don't agree. I mean, I agree with you. I don't agree with necessarily what they're doing. I just think it's one of those things where, you know, in their defense again, I think community is also each one teach one, because let's be real, if we have a strat, that thing starts to spread. It starts to spread. I mean, think about this. The reason why I know they're on that mentality is because this was the last couple of seasons where they've been extremely agile when something is broken from an exotic standpoint. Like they got the shut it down button now, right? Like before, what was the exotic? The Telesto
was
Hammer the
turned
nails
off.
back in.
Yeah, like now it's like boom, hammering the nail. Good exact shout out to Doc Squiddy, who we had on the show, who had a great article on that whole mentality. I think it's just, unfortunately, that's just where they are. We have to look at their actions, right? Because sometimes they're not forthcoming all the time, and their actions to me dictate balance. Hold on, this can't get out of control. And again, the only reason why I think I a little side with certain aspects is because I'm gonna pull it E Bontis now. They're an independent studio. They don't have vicarious visions anymore. Look at this is an internal fight right now. This is a joke. This is a joke, Teddy. Rock with me. This is a fight. I'm actually flipping it on them right now. They're just a little studio. We have to. They don't have the agility to do these things. They're on their own, and we have to accept it. Look at his face. Yes. Now you are where I was last year.
No, that's not a valid argument at this point. Is my point.
Let's go.
Mine's for developing content and making weapons and adding all new things into the game. Not in the way systems works. That is just a choice by how big or small the team is. That doesn't matter. You could have 100 people. You could have 5 people. If they make a bad decision, that's still on however many people are making that decision.
But
so
if they blaze through the content, then it's just, they don't have enough time to create new content for the player base.
They're never going to keep up. That is one thing I think everybody needs to understand is they will never make enough for it to last. They are trying to get better at spacing what they can. They're adding bosses in over the calendar, which we'll look at. But things like when we're talking about RNG and random rolls and stuff like that, that is not a choice for the player base.
This is great. Continue. I love hearing you go to my side from back. This is awesome. Continue. This is an internal thing debate we always had. It's just funny.
Yeah, but this is not a good time for this.
It's not apples to apples. You're correct. It's not
It's not apples to oranges. It's apples and
car
tires.
It's funny hearing you talk somewhat similar to how I used to. I'm thoroughly enjoying this. This is a show within the show. Continue, sir.
I've got a second hot take here.
Hot take it up.
So
I'll take it, baby.
I mentioned this before the podcast, but I come from a background of completion. Like when I play games, that's why I triumph hunt. It's kind of engraved into my DNA because of Nintendo and how their games are designed, and you kind of just always want to get everything right. And at least in Nintendo games, most of the time the collectibles are usually worth it. But so at its core, if you were to break Destiny down, if you were to strip all the game away, all the mechanics, what is Destiny? It's a inventory management game, like at inventory management and resource gathering game, and with that comes time management, right? So we're talking about, how burning bosses and the optimal strat, right? The player base will always find the fastest way to do everything because the fastest way yields more resources, more gear, more armor, more mats, whatever have you, right? And your time is valuable. So I sympathize with Bungie a little bit because I know that it's impossible. No one could do this. No studio could do this where they could test for every possible scenario that the player base could come up with. And I get it. On one hand, they don't want this bad reputation of the game is broken or something's actually not functioning. But then again, too, it's just we're just having fun, right? Like it's PvE. PvP is a different discussion, and I think that's a harder balancing act for them, both literally and metaphorically. But for PvE, I don't know. It just let me do things as fast as I want to do them. Take the Fanatic Strike for example, right? That boss you cannot melt at all. It's impossible. But Nokris, who has a similar mechanic, you could melt him if you're fast enough from 100 to 0.
Yes.
That should just be an option on every boss. If we're good enough, we can skip the mechanic. If we're not, then you just let it go. You just do the mechanic and you do it like normal. Anyway, go ahead. That was my rant.
It's the last one. I know we were killing this topic, and this is just such great.
Oh no, we're in for the long haul tonight, guys. It is long point tonight.
Yeah, this is long point today. The point is, I hear you, man. I think it's funny how I've become this Bungie sympathizer so hardcore. I just think that
I happen to know a pretty
change.
good Bungie Bungie sympathizer. He now works for Bungie.
I got my corporate hat on, y'all. It's just the way. This is what I remember, and I always go back to Vanilla D2 as my reference point. And I'll never forget. There were a multitude of mistakes with Vanilla D2. We won't go into that, but I feel Destiny sometimes. I think the lesson that we have to learn from Vanilla D2 is that when the player base gets what they want, they check out. And part of the problem with Vanilla D2, not saying that everything was easy, but a lot of things were accessible, right? So what happened is a lot of the player base, they come in, you know, they were getting raid weapons from Hawthorne, they were doing a whole bunch of things, and at that point, the philosophy was like the items or whatever it was, instead of some of the challenge of pinnacle activities and stuff like that. And I think it's just it's tough balancing act, man. It's tough because I think what happens is, look, I love melting bosses. I loved everything you're saying, Tate. Like everything you're saying, it's fun. You get in there, you got the optimal strats, and people are going to find the optimal strats. But I worry that when we knock all these stuff out and everybody's getting these pinnacle rewards, what's the incentive to keep playing? I think part of what makes Destiny's great is the chase. Right?
100%.
The getting, you go in the tower and you're like, man, how did Ebontis get that? What did he do for that, right? Now, do I want it to be like Anarchy when I'm looking at Destin Legary and he's like, I still haven't gotten Anarchy, this is my 55th scourge run. You know, there has to be, I
agree.
Yeah, there still has to be balance, but I think that's the only reason why I do side with them slightly, because I know how I am. When I have everything, I'm kind of done. I'm kind of like, okay, you know, I'll tune back in when, you know, the next thing is added. And I do like it. Is it artificial? Probably so, you know, them stretching it. But it's a tough balance, man. I do feel for them. On the PvE side, I definitely feel for them. It's so tough.
They're a pendulum, and they always tend to swing one way too far, and then when they correct, they always swing the other way too far. But those rare instances where they hit that middle point, it's the magic, right? It's where Destiny shines its brightest. Yes. when they get it right, and I think that's why we always come back, because it's that hope, right? Like maybe they got it right. But. Yep. Anyway, if we need to move on, we can move on.
I was like,
I'm sorry, man. This is
this is great discussion. This is always the good stuff. Yeah, it's like, for me, it's just the point of, I know you're saying they want to manage our time, but and he says it's a little forced, but in my mind, it's more than just a little bit forced. So it's to the point of, as like, you watch some of the people that, I mean, the Destins out there counting his Anarchy drops and stuff like that. That's going to be one of those. Somebody else had like a cross stitch made because he had more than 100 runs, still not getting an Anarchy, which was brutal. But not even that. It's just like at the point we are at now, you guys are both saying, it's like, why do we play video games at a very, very basic level? To have fun. Yep. And to a point of when certain things in this game are not fun, that gets at one of the deepest issues where Destiny has some trouble with its balance. Yeah. And is it a balance of your time versus the other? Hey, should this boss have 6 immunity phases, even if I hit him in the head with a 4 times honed shot? No. Like, if I take off a chunk of his health and it's half his damn bar and we hit him all at the same second, hey, maybe he dies in 2 immunity phases. Like, certain things, as you said, Nokris, you can knock him out if you time it right. And if you've actually learned how to do that, why punish the player for getting that precision, guys? It's like, okay, we're running as a team. 3, 2, 1, bomb, oppressive darkness, Warcliff coil, done. Like, if you can get that together, how many teams actually put that together all the time? How many average players go through a strike on the other side?
Each one teach one. You know how this community is, bro. Once the secret get out, everybody's running through. Put that mentality.
Hold on. You take that as an everybody. No, you take that as a everybody. How big of this everybody of the population are you talking about? Because you have hardcore people that actually pay attention to the Reddits, the YouTubes, the threads, and people that just log in and play.
Valid. You're valid if you're looking from a percentage standpoint from the whole. But again, I'm going to apply your same mentality with your favorite event. You're the dungeon guy. Could you imagine Shattered Throne, guys come up with a melt strat, right? Everybody's running around with Wish Ender. Everyone's running around with that stuff. what's the incentive to go back in it again? I'm just thinking from this standpoint. If we're blazing through content so fast, that's their fear. Loot, no doubt, no doubt. But I mean, it's like usually again with those type of strats, we're gonna get the loot very fast. You know what I'm saying? And again, all I'm saying is I just remember the reasons why I checked out of D2 vanilla. I had everything so fast. I didn't even step into raid on certain aspects. I had stuff, but that's another story.
But now, okay, let me flip it to the other side. Do you think you can get anything at this point?
Like, be specific. What you mean? Like,
okay, you want an exotic with a intellect, discipline, roll, and arc affinity. How hard is that going to be for you to get?
No, absolutely. No, you're right.
So it's like, has it, as Teddy said, the pendulum, how far away has it swung? When you had everything, now it's almost impossible to go for that thing that you really want.
But I think those are two separate arguments. One versus difficulty versus this terrible triple, quadruple RNG.
But okay, so here's the thing is like, if they have swung so far that it's really hard to get the quadruple RNG, why do you have to make it still really hard for me to go through the activity? If I can burn a boss faster and I get 2 more chances at said drop when I have 6,000 times, 1 in 6,000 times, if it's hard to get it, then don't hamper my efficiency. If it's easy to get,
if they want to keep you, now this is where we meet now. Now I'm with you.
No.
If they want to keep this, if they are so hell bent with this affinity and armor and they don't want it to go, then I do agree. Yes, they do need to give us at least multiple options. Kind of like almost when Menagerie did that thing when they had, that week and it's like 3 or 4 drops. And it was like, it was raining out there for a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Because even though you got those drops, you still weren't guaranteed the rolls, the affinity, or whatever it is. So in that, I'll meet you in the middle there with that part for sure.
I was like, if it is swung, go ahead.
I used to talk about drops for Menagerie, and this is kind of a mini story. So there's the shotgun Imperial Decree, a specific role that I was chasing pre Guardian Con.
Yes.
I made an Excel sheet after the first 100.
Not surprised, but I
had about 500 drops chasing one very specific role. The barrel didn't really matter. It was
you didn't want trench barrel?
No, the barrel, the muzzle.
Oh, the barrel.
Assault mag, trench barrel, full auto.
Because I was going for it too.
Full auto increases fire rate by 10%, and assault mag increases fire rate by 5%, and then trench barrel, obviously. And this is when threat detector and Ikelos were still kind of somewhat used. Mountaintop was at its prime, so lesser, but it was better than both those guns with that roll. I did it over 600 times. I still don't have the gun. That roll. So there is something to be said about, yes, Menagerie was very rewarding, and it was great that it was dropping all that stuff, but if the game is somehow actively working against me to not give me the thing I want, then that's that hurts a little. Makes me not want to play the game.
These are valid stuff, man. It's that pendulum, like you said, that the hardcore player, desire versus the I feel for them sometimes versus the casual fan that wants to get in. It's tough. I definitely, nothing you guys are saying is wrong. You know what I'm saying? I just think I just feel for them on certain aspects because this is a very difficult game to balance.
I agree.
Yep. Anyway, I'm just going to leave Prescott's comment out there just because I gave him a hard time about that.
Yeah, go for it.
But yeah, so like, we obviously got off on a big tangent there. But, I mean, it's been a journey since Shadowkeep started. We have this brand new armor system.
Yes, sir.
We've got stats, we've got rolls, we've had different strikes, we've got exotics that do and don't come, and Zur is still just the tentacle face man of uselessness occasionally. All those things happen.
I like that. Continue.
Tentacle face man of uselessness.
Uselessness.
That's what I'll title my new
video. That should be like his title.
Yeah.
Forget the name.
That's the new Zur video title.
He's gonna be a little useful now going forward because you buy that faded Amgren every week, and it's gonna be armor if you have all the weapons. So that's
true. That's true.
So,
See,
he'll be semi
Once a week you get a roll out of how many exotic pieces of armor do we have?
Yeah.
He's disgusted. Let it go. I love his disgusted in your armor situation. It's great.
I wanted good armor for so long, and it still has potential, but it's not there yet.
Not there yet.
That's I guess where I'll just leave it. So.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, back to Season of Dawn after Joys of Tangents, and that's what we do here on. So I don't know if you know, Teddy, our podcast used to be called Flashpoint.
I did not know
In
that.
theory, it was meant like Flashpoint generally is, Flash being quick. But then when we had over 2-hour podcasts, we're like, well, we're on a long point now. And that is exactly what this is today.
That's
So
literally what's going on.
anybody who's been around for a little while, we passed the Flash a long time ago. So next, in the stream, we also got the shortest preview of the calendar ever.
Yes.
Here's the calendar. There goes the calendar. Go find it on Twitter later on, which was also kind of odd. So I want to kind of walk through the calendar with you guys. I'm going to have it up on screen. So if you guys are chatting in Twitch, I will get back to y'all. But for the calendar, I kind of want to go through this one for you guys, see what you guys think about it, and then we'll get into the TWAB stuff towards the end. So on launch day, we have Saint 14 staring at us. We've got the new Sundial PvP mode, and the Sundial, this is where they start to mention, I guess, our boss
mode.
rotation. PvE, sorry. The Sundial Nyrule, the Hollow Voice, is our first one. Don't know what he looks like. We can see a couple of the others. Free to all Destiny 2 players, we get the new seasonal artifact, which is not in the season pass, by the way. So I don't know if that's just going to come from Osiris says, here's a lantern. I'm not entirely sure. But is not in the season, which I'm honestly fine with because playing 7 levels of the season pass and then finally getting an artifact kind of was annoying. So I'm glad hopefully it just comes earlier. Solar subclass updates, PvP mode elimination. We'll talk about your PvP stuff. Don't worry. New PvP map, Tangled Shore, and Mars obelisks open. They have told us nothing about those obelisks. And those are for everybody.
Oh, some of them
you-
are. Some of them are for everyone.
Well,
Right.
the 4 obelisks are for everyone.
All
So
four
you
of
got
them?
the free here. Yeah, and then the Nessus and Easy on the 17th is also for everybody.
Oh, okay, you're right. Yeah, my bad.
No, you're good. So honestly, you have people who are like, hey, I haven't bought the season yet. What do I get if I don't buy the season? It might be a nice thing to tease one of these things as well. What's an obelisk or this thing? And they may have a secret, but it's starting right on day 1. So some people are going to see it, some aren't. What do you guys think, as that's kind of the thing we haven't seen yet, what do you guys think these are going to be? There's going to be four different planets. What do you guys think this is going to do, function, mechanic-wise? What do you guys expect?
Let's go, Teddy. What you got?
I would guess it's probably just their version of the world event this season. So kind of like the wolves on Mars or whatever it was from Destiny 1 and the Hive, the Knights. I know people have been asking for that for a long time for that to come back, and we sort of got that with the forges with the shielded guys, but they were tied to a quest, and after you completed the quest and killed them once, you kind of never had to do it again unless you're doing like a bounty or something. So I imagine it's something like that, but maybe a little more in depth. I don't know. I'm surprised they didn't say anything about it. Maybe they want us to discover it. Maybe it's a puzzle thing over a combat thing. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Cognito, as you take a sip.
Yeah, man. I mean, I don't know. Let's just get the elephant out of the room. This is the most obscure roadmap ever. Like, I'm just like, what is going on here? I mean, I'm not that I'm like upset with it. It's just there's no information. There's no reference points. So the only thing I can think about is kind of like what Teddy said. Like, these got to be similar type of world events, and with this whole obelisk thing. And then as far as obviously I know we'll get into the the sundial and stuff like that, which feels very boss fighting ish.
Yep.
I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Again, my only concern is just that we know, me and you've talked to you before, and we know most likely there wasn't going to be a raid, right? We know most likely there wasn't going to be a dungeon. We just had that. We have to be respectful of the resources on hand. Again, the only fear I have is when people are this quiet, how much do you really have to offer? And I'm a little concerned. I'll be honest. I am a little concerned. Again, this stuff could be great. I could all my fears could be unfounded. It's just it feels light. You know what I'm saying? Like, and here's the other thing. I want to shout out Datto too. We got to be real here too. In the standpoint, this is a $10 expansion, so to speak, right? And I will say this: as much as my fears is and stuff like
It's as much as a damn ornament. We'll get to that.
We'll get to that.
Yeah, don't get me started on that.
Don't get me started. You're right. Shout out to the Iron Banner guys that got the $10 Iron Banner emote. Shout out. I'm a lord. I got to do it. But in fairness, I have to say this. I think we are all in agreement. I haven't spoken to Teddy on this. That Season of the Undying, we could have missed and been okay with Shadowkeep. If so, technically it didn't exist, right? We're happy we got everything, but it was very light. So in comparison to Undying to Dawn, not Shadowkeep to Dawn, Season of Dawn, but Undying to Dawn, yes, this is seems to be way much more. You know what I'm saying, going on here.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm at. I'm gonna temper expectations because my fear is this stuff may be very light. But where
if you compare Undying, you go, what do you have? You literally have different public events and you have one arena, basically. Right. I mean, that's literally all Undying had.
Right.
I'm going to go spend a lot of time in that thing for the damn title, but that's going to be a sad weekend for me. Anyway.
Right.
My condolences.
He said my condolences.
Whole lot of my condolences. Yeah, a whole lot of Netflix in game. But yeah, it's like if you start pulling stuff out of this calendar of what is going to be actually content. So take Sundial. Those are 3 different bosses. They could have different mechanics, but that's all off of there. So that's one row off the top. You have the Dawning, which is for a month, which most of us will be done in about a week.
Right.
So
It's
that's
snowball
still
already.
more just a holiday event. If you guys can hear my wolves, sorry, but apparently there's someone outside. Crimson Days, PvP, still probably shouldn't advertise with Sparrows if they're not coming back with Sparrow Racing League, so get that crap off of there.
If SRL doesn't come back, I'll riot.
Oh no, like the fact that they have Sparrows on here twice really is like poor advertising if it's not.
Yes.
So last year they did the same thing. The picture had the Sparrows, but they were
sleigh.
advertising the sleigh thing.
Yes,
and,
the sleigh.
And when it didn't come, I was like, it's been 2 years. I love SRL. I played Mario Kart competitively, and SRL is just Mario Kart without the BS. There's no items, right? So it's pure skill, like with some minor gripes.
That makes me use my controller, so you all know. That would make me use my controller because I was actually pretty good at Sparrow Racing League on PlayStation. So
yeah, I played a lot of Sparrow Racing League both years on Destiny 1, and if that isn't SRL, like, oh man,
put a snowflake in there and put a heart in the other one and get the sparrows out of the damn pictures. I'm sorry, but yeah, I don't expect it to be Sparrow Racing League, but that is the biggest tease that they could do to all the Sparrow Racing fans.
Can we give Amanda a job?
She's fixing the same Sparrow for 2 years.
Can she at least have Sparrow rotations in there? Can she like build one every season? What if she just had one be like, hey, I'm going to give you this long like triumph that you got to do over the course of killing 500,000 enemies over the course of the season. I'm going to use all those parts and build a Sparrow this season. Just something random for her because she's just so sad over in the tower. Cade's gone. The faction guys aren't really doing anything. They've left the building or taken a nap. So
go to that side unless Zer's there.
Yeah.
And I rarely go for him that he's there.
Yeah.
So it's like, continue, Teddy. I'm
grab
sorry,
your
but
No, that was it. Just I had to comment on SRL because it's my favorite, one of my favorite things in Destiny, and if it doesn't come back, man, it's gonna hurt.
I feel you, brother. I feel you. I'm with you, man.
So
I love
take
SRL.
the 3 bosses out of the right of this page. You can take Iron Banner, which is probably not the only Iron Banner. We'll cover that in a minute. Take Crimson Days. Take the Dawning off of there. What new content do we have? The Sundial, the hard version, and whatever Empyrean Foundation is, and that is 3 months.
Yeah.
So it's like if you have a PvE mode with potentially 4 different bosses, maybe cool because the sirens are always cool. You have a difficulty to it, and we have exotic quests, which may be cool. We'll see. But yeah, if you're wondering if it's light, if this is what we have, they haven't told us what the final 3 weeks are. I was going to save that for another discussion little point here in a second. I think you're honestly you're suspect of like, what is this $10 season? You're looking at it.
Yeah, it's
And
look like it's it.
Yeah. So I don't think I think they're tempering expectations in the stream. May not have been intentional, may not have been their best stream, but I think that honestly may be a kind of silver lining for them to temper what everybody's like, hey, okay, it's kind of about what I thought. Like, people didn't get too high over the top, I think.
Right, bro.
No, we do have Save the Legend, which is going to be cool, but go ahead, Teddy.
Let me ask you guys this. So now that we've had this will be our 5th seasonal drop of Destiny 2. Do you guys prefer this kind of seasonal time-gated system, or
You're first.
do you prefer the Destiny 1 where it was like everything was front-loaded with the first 6 months of the season, and then we get like a spring update, and then nothing after that until the next expansion? How do you which one do you prefer, and why?
You don't even know what you just jumped in. You are so cool. I love how he just does it. Like, you just opened up a whole Pandora right there because this is something me and E have debated so long. You know what I'm saying? It's so funny you brought that up as a question. I know you got to be dying when you heard him say this.
Oh, I literally was pointing at you because you're
Yeah.
first.
Oh, this is the battle. Yeah, this is the battle. Yeah, I mean, it's listen. I'm always going to be a fan of expansions. That's just it's just how my mind works with Destiny. That's just how I've been conditioned. You know, in E's defense, I do understand why seasons, so to speak, had to happen, and as far as from a studio standpoint, and as far as cadence and content, you know what I mean. But put it this way: the last seasons that we've had, right, which we had Black Armory, Drifter, Opulence. Out of all of those, Opulence was the only one I felt satisfied with, for the most part. Opulence was the one that I felt, if seasons can replicate that, I won't complain, right? Now, granted, I know every season can't have a raid. I know every season can't have a dungeon. You know what I'm saying? So I get it. But it's tough, man, because as a Destiny hardcore player, I love playing this game all the time, right? And now it's like, as a season, it's like tune in, come in for a minute, chill, do a couple things, an activity, and then I see you later. And it's weird. It's weird playing other games. And I know we've gone back and forth with this, you know what I'm saying? But, for me, I would love nothing but to play Destiny all the time. You know what I'm saying? But I understand also the logistics of it. It's hard, right? And now, again, there's no Vicarious Visions. There's no High Moon. This is all them. They are the big independent, studio. I just wish, part of me does think, though, what if they still kept the old cadence and went to expansions? I don't know, man. I almost might say, hey, I'd wait. You know what I'm saying? If they were packed heavy, you know what I'm saying? And then, you wait for a bit, you go through a drought, and, after Shadowkeep or whatever, and then it's like, okay, come back at the top of the year. It's tough, man. It's tough. I see you, Vagamondo, with the slander. Stop it. I see you with the one character Warlock slander. I see you. But here, at the end of the day, man, it's a tough thing. I personally like expansions. If you're going to put a gun in my head, I will always say expansions. Like, to me, Shadowkeep represented the traditional model.
Yeah.
Right? And I love that. It was tons of things to do. I love my mind overwhelmed. And even if there's a drought now, and let's just say the next Shadowkeep kind of thing was like at the top of the year, you know what I'm saying? Or, spring or whatever, I'm kind of okay with that. But it's like this model here, I struggle because you see the potential, right? But I know I'm not getting a raid. I know I'm not getting a dungeon, and then we just got to hope that this stuff is really good. And I'm hoping for Opulence, but this don't feel like Opulence. I don't even know where this is at. Like, this is somewhere between Armory and Drifter, maybe? I don't know. So
No,
I'll give it to E.
Drifter.
Probably, yeah, above Drifter, right. You know what I'm saying? But I'll give it to E. I can go on forever on this, kind of thing. But I'm curious to see where he's at now, if he kind of maintains the same stance.
I mean, mine's been you have nicely turned the tables, because when you step away and you're like, hey, I'm playing Outer Wilds, and you love it. Now you're doing that while this content is going on like this. And if you had your bigger, I know, it's like, now if you had your bigger breaks, like we talked about, then you're like, hey, let me play it all. Okay, let me go play my other games. Hey, let me come back and play all this new stuff. Okay, I'll go try something else for a little while. Mm-hmm. Like, the bigger breaks are sometimes healthy for some of us, because there's this, like, Destiny is, like, never going to win this battle.
Yeah.
No matter what they do. If they do the seasons and they're only one studio and they don't have 6,000 developers in there that they can afford to keep running and put out some crazy amount of content, it's never going to be enough.
Right.
And then if there's a drought, then people fall off, and then how many do you keep going? So they have basically swimming uphill both ways in the snow. It's not going to work well, and they're trying to make the most of it. If I had to choose, I mean, I think the expansions typically do offer more, and that's kind of like, we're in the same boat, dude.
Okay. I'm surprised. Actually, surprised you said that.
I was like, because there are times the seasons are cool, because if they get to a point where the seasons are like Luke described, Ada walks in the tower, we've got more interaction with that, she leaves, there's this narrative connection, and it gets to that dream that we hope for, then that has the potential for the narrative, if there was content to go with the narrative, then I think that would actually give it a really cool feel.
Ding, ding.
And then, like, those are smaller. We know they're smaller. They keep the story going. It's kind of fresh. And then you get to the big thing that comes next fall.
Yes.
But if the content does have lacking points, like Drifter, Black Armory was cool, big lag, and then Opulence was pretty cool. It's just the consistency, and it's hard for them to probably, okay, what's this next narrative thing we're going to do? What's the new activity we're going to build with it? Is it always just one new activity, and then do people get tired of still running Strikes and Gambit and other things? And then you think about the titles as, like, for Teddy out there, it's like, we'll give it back to you in a second, but it's like, I'm thinking about this title. More than half of this title grind was me running Strikes, playing Gambit matches, collecting the ritual weapons for the season. That doesn't make me undying. That just means I had no life for a little while. That's literally all that one's going to mean, and that's where it's kind of like, some of the things they make you do in this game make you almost like enjoy the seasons less. If I was just like, hey, the season's kind of cool, there's the thing, go kill 1,000,000 Vex, hey, you've done this thing, maybe get a cool emblem for it, as opposed to go get 1.8 million kills in Strikes, 675 arc ability kills, 675 melee kills, where I had to go use my hammer. I got a really fun combo on that one, by the way. I ended up using, it was the soul, so it's the Vanguard emblems that you need. And you had, like, the Nightfall points that you need or whatever, but you also have to get solar kills, but melees. I accidentally had my Dune Marchers on, and I was helping somebody out with a video. So I had those on, and when you sprint, you get the little melee, like, static electricity. But then I was trying to get solar melee, so I was on my Titan, so I was throwing my hammer. Well, when I threw my hammer after sprinting, the lightning would spread from where it hit.
Yeah.
So it actually was this kind of chain effect that made it go a lot quicker. And I just like, that was actually kind of fun when I stumbled into that point. But it's still, I had to go do like one lost sector over and over and over and over and over. And it's like, they almost make it to the point where it's like a season I might have enjoyed. By the time I get done trying to keep up with everything that's in it, I probably almost look down upon it because of what it made me do.
Made you do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's bring it back to Teddy, because
I'm
so glad you asked this question.
Yeah, this is you poked at a really, really big.
Poked at it, yo. We tried to put our swords away for a long time. But I got to bring it back to you, man.
Kind of going to that grind for the triumph, right? So, like I was saying earlier, the best players and just the community at large will always find the most optimal way to do something, right? And so you're talking about, like, you have your Dune Marchers on, you got this ability going, and, like, when I was working on Undying, I knew going into it, I was like, this is an unreasonable amount of things that I have to do. Not that, I mean, I don't have to do them, but I'm gonna, of things that, you know, I gotta get all these ability kills on the moon. I gotta get all these ability kills in Strikes, and they're not retroactive, and all these weapon kills in Vex Offensive that makes me a complete detriment to the people I'm playing with, and they're doing the same thing too. So then it just makes the activity take twice as long, and it just creates this weird environment of, like, and I know that I'm, like, in the super minority when it comes to triumph hunting, so this is like a super small, or it's a major gripe of a small amount of people, but, like, I'm doing the Altar of Sorrow triumph right now for getting 500 waves, which is the final triumph I need for the season to hit max score. And if you think about it, 500 waves is just a lot of Altar of Sorrow. Woo! It's a lot of Destiny.
Yeah.
I was crunching the numbers last night while I was playing it, and it was something like, you have to do 400 waves because it's 100 to get to rank 4. But so 400 waves, and it was something like 25 hours of playing or something like that. And I'm like, am I going to do this? Am I really going to do this? And then today I was thinking about it right before we started the podcast, and I'm like, man, my time is really not valued when it comes to this stuff. So going back to the Undying thing, because this is where I'm leading into this.
Let's go.
I feel like when it comes to those kinds of triumphs or those kinds of accomplishments for a quest or something, that they're not really, and I don't know this for sure, this is just me speculating, but I feel like they're not testing how long those things take, because let's be real here. Not everyone is as good as we are, or even there's better players than us. But like, we're gonna try and do everything as optimally as possible. But the average player, if you look at it on a bell curve, the average player, they're not gonna get Undying. They're not gonna get those triumphs done. They're not gonna get those kills done in time, because they're just casually. I hate using that word, but they're just casually playing the game. And I think that when they talk a lot about, especially at Guardian Con, they talked a lot about respecting the player's time. And it's one thing to say it; it's another thing when I go into the game and you show me this title that I'm gonna get it, right? Like, I'm gonna go get the title, and it's like, all right, this is gonna take me 15 hours of Vex Offensive. I'm gonna try and not hang myself, and let's do this. Like, and it's this weird double-edged sword, man. Like, I always complain about it, and then they get me every time. So.
No, you nailed it, man. I mean, I think, like I said, I think the completionist in us, or the hardcore, makes us do it. But again, I think you nailed it. I think there's still some discrepancy of missing the boat with the time investment. And like, for example, like a title I really want that I know most likely I'm not going to have is Blacksmith. And it's just like,
that one's rough.
Yeah, bro.
That one's rough.
It's like, and think about now, it's like 500 kills with Jatoon, 500 kills with Izanagi. And then it's like, well, now the forges rotate. You know what I'm saying? Yep. It's like, there's so many different layers. And it's just like, at the end of the day, I forgot who said it, another content creator said it, I'd rather the triumphs be tied to like something like what Ibantis does, which is like, okay, you soloed a thing, like something that required a skill involved with it, as opposed to just a repetitive action of, just elongated repetitive action, 500 kills. Like, are they really looking at the metrics as in reference to the time investment required to do that? Because that is a lot. And like you said, the casual or whoever, they're not going to be able to do that. But it's not because it really is difficult. It's just you got to sacrifice your life to do this. like that's just really what it is. It's not that it's
Undying
hard.
Is not a title of skill. It is not a title of skill to any. I mean, Randy's throwing knife, you got to get 2100 glory. I've heard if you might. Shout out to my brother. He knocked it out. So I'm like, I'm hoping it goes relatively smoothly for me, but maybe he's just better anyway.
Salute
but
to
like
Momentum
that is
Control, though.
Yeah, Momentum Control.
Yeah, no,
Salute to Momentum Control. A lot of dudes is doing it.
That was amazing. Yeah,
Momentum
Momentum Control was
okay.
clutch. It's back this week, which was a nice little touch. But most of that is literally just time. And that's like, I mean, as I forget who said it in chat, I was dying when they said it. They're like, it's Undying is because you're going to be zombies by the end. You're going to be zombies because you're just like, you're just spending too much time. You just died in Destiny. It's just, that's the point of like respecting the player's time is one of those things they still have to consider when it comes to some of these things. For you to do 500 waves, I think we get the point that you've spent your time in Altar of Sorrow.
Right.
Like that shouldn't be triumph score just to be like, oh, we got 100, 200, 6,000 waves later. This man lost his mind. Not cool.
Now, to play devil's advocate to my own point, I completely understand that I'm not saying every title should be, super hard to get or difficult. But the thing that makes Undying kind of unique is that it's the first of its kind. I guess the 2019 one was kind of like this too, but it goes away. You cannot earn that title.
Cannot earn it
after the fact. So personally, I would rather have a easy, mindless title to grind if it goes away at the end of the season versus like if you told me to get Unbroken 3 times in one season and then it goes away forever, I'd be like, bro.
Yeah, that's tough. That's
all
tough.
right, like.
Yeah.
So, I see where they're coming from. So I'm hoping that this season's title is a little bit better. But we've kind of strayed away from the roadmap. Let's get back on track, hopefully, here.
Yeah,
A little bit. I was going to ask real quick while I get the roadmap back up, what do you guys think the new title will be called? Because I have one idea.
I don't know. Let me hear what you guys think first, and I'll think of something.
You want me to throw mine out? Because mine might be good.
No, go for it, man. You got it.
Yeah.
Saint.
Just Saint? Just plain?
Just Saint.
Wow, you gotta be a saint, dude. Okay. So it's undying. Yeah, that's actually interesting. I don't even know how to counter that, man. Like,
Because
I
Dawn
don't-
doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
That's like that doesn't fit like Donner. That's just it. Now I'm
Yeah,
in reindeer.
Donner,
Like,
Saint,
so it's like I've been trying to figure out what it would be. Dawn,
Disciple of Osiris.
disciple. No, I mean
Disciple?
that actually that'd be
Disciple
better.
could be
But
one.
now you're just sitting there with Brother Vance like a crazy person.
That's
so.
right. Get your fanboy on. I
I,
don't know.
the Empyrean, is that how you pronounce it? The
Empyrean.
Maybe, yeah. There you
yeah,
go.
I
Yeah,
could see them
might-
doing that.
that might be it.
I don't know. Saint actually seems pretty. It seems pretty good.
We'll see. Cross my fingers because that actually would be kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
Saint Cognito.
I think they ain't doing Saint. I don't
Yeah,
think they
it'd
touch
be-
it. I think it's just for
all the
religious and
religious sakes
political
out there?
purposes. Yeah,
Yeah,
they
that's
ain't
fine.
staying away from that. I don't see Bungie
Either way,
touching that.
so we got the obelisk for free. Those are pretty early, and we've got these 4 bosses. And if you look at, so we're back on the calendar. If you guys are following along, since I can't really put it on screen. So we have Nyrule, the Hollow Voice. And when you looked in the trailer, at one point you did see one of these guys who had no
Yes.
mask on. Cabal
Yes.
are nasty looking without their masks on. By the way, they're gross.
Ain't that Scions, though? Ain't they like a different race? I always forget them.
Yeah,
Scion or Cabal?
the Scion. Well, they are Cabal, but they're kind of like the grunts from Halo.
Oh, okay,
They're
gotcha. I didn't realize.
they're enslaved by the Cabal. They're
Yes,
servants.
that's what I remember.
So
Okay.
they're not technically the same race, but they are
Yeah.
like Cabal, like the Covenant.
Gotcha.
I might be botching that a little bit because I'm not like super familiar with the lore, but
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what it kind of boils down to is that. But they do look nasty without their.
So
their
we've
masks.
got, it might be him in the trailer, but then we go to Sundial Oslect, the Sky Piercer. Very much looks Arc related.
Yes.
Then we've got the Sundial Tazarok, the Sun Eater. Gonna guess he's solar related. Now, process of elimination, Nyrule might be void, and the only reason I say that is because when we look at the bottom on Inotam, Oblivion's Triune, when we see the piece of the trailer with the broken, shattered glass and all of that stuff, he has that monochromatic color scheme to him. He doesn't have. He's black, white, and gray. He is not blue, red, purple, orange, nothing. He is basically nothing. And I'm wondering if because we have this big break of Legend of Sundial, which is the hard mode, which is no matchmaking. That one comes out about a month later. And then about a month after that, in February, we get the Empyrean Foundation, which looks like we're going to the past. But it also looks like the portal to the Infinite Forest is closed. And then we've got this guy who might be in this broken timeline. So I'm kind of wondering how they use the sundial, the transitions, the bosses, and stuff like that. And I kind of wondered if you guys had broken it down this far, or had thought about like the implications of like Solar Arc Void and this other. I don't know what he's gonna be. So I didn't know if you guys had thought about that much. Are you looking forward to the different bosses? Do you think it's like week 1 we get one, week 2 we get another, week 3 we get another, and then 6 weeks later we get the last one? It's also a weird cadence.
Yeah, I mean, I'll jump in. I think for me, I don't mind this aspect. I will shout out the hunters though. Hunters, y'all got to make a request that y'all better get your what you call it, your marks with that. Remember the classic,
Cloak?
the sun dance, the cloak, the siege dancer. The hunters need to get some siege dancer style cloak. This is the perfect opportunity for Bungie to reward hunters with this. So that's all I got to say in reference to the cosmetic aspect. But as far as the bosses, yeah, I think you're on it, E. It's going to be probably different elements. I remember them vaguely saying something about traveling to different locations that this DLC expansion will not be tied specifically always in Mercury, and that we will have to go different places. I don't know if that's tied within the campaign portion or also in reference to that, but I'm getting them vibes. So, that's what we shall see.
Teddy, any thoughts?
With that.
I think you kind of hit it. I'm actually looking at the Black Armory roadmap because this is similar dates. Black Armory launched on December 4th.
Okay.
And then it ended on ended on February 5th with Crimson Days. There's a lot less content in the Black Armory roadmap, but it kind of lines up. I can put it in our Discord thing so you guys can look at it with me here. But
I got it. I found it.
Yep, I get it.
yeah, it kind of lines up pretty similarly to Season of the Dawn. Season of the Dawn actually has a little bit more going for it than than Black Army. But in terms of like spacing, it's more or less the same. Like,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I mean,
Forge, boss,
Boss, yeah.
Dawning, no raid. Yeah.
I was pretty opposed to the time gated model when they kind of started introducing it with Taken King, and after that it got a little more intense. But as I've gotten older and I've been playing a lot of Destiny, I kind of appreciate it in a weird way because it's almost like, all right, it's like my schedule for Destiny.
Yeah.
Like it's
Yes,
like, oh,
yes.
okay, this thing's coming. I can either ignore this or tackle it the next week, or I can do it. And if if it's not good, then it's fine, right? Like, and I usually am unable to play immediately on Tuesday when things launch. So, go on Reddit, see what people are thinking, and it's like, okay, I don't have to do this, or I can wait till Friday to do this, or whatever, right? And so, I don't know. Yeah, I think you nailed it. It seems like each one is a different boss, different type. Hopefully, it's like Menagerie, where they're pretty different, and the mechanics are a little bit challenging. But given that they're all Scions, I'm not holding my breath for that.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of, we'll just kind of have to see where that lays out. I do want to say, some people are wondering, hey, how come Iron Banner is only on there one time? Is it going to come back? They throw that thing in every which other place they can. I'm sure it's going to be on the 14th of January. I'm sure it's going to be somewhere in the middle of, like, the end of the season. It's going to be happening more often.
I agree.
But I really wanted to pick your guys' brains at. We know of 3 exotics from the season page, which is the other piece of all this crazy amount of content that we've been looking at. One of those is a sidearm. That's where I'm going to start. So I wanted to ask and see your guys' thoughts about our first new exotic of the season that we know about, Mr. Sidearm. What do you guys think? Are you excited, or are you like, oh, crap? Like, what do you guys...
I'm pulling it up right now so I can... I looked at it earlier when they launched this, and if you want to go ahead, Cognito, you can go ahead.
I mean, listen, tempering expectations here. I mean, Rat King was one that I had high hopes for, and it just never, even with the buffs, it never kind of hit that note that I thought it should. I love the concept though. I love the whole, Rat Pack 6 in the crew kind of thing. But Devil's Ruin. I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm gonna hold out reserve judgment until it comes out, but I'm not. We gotta talk about Bastion. That's the one I'm ready for.
I'm saving that for last.
This right here, like I'm trying to be nice. Like, it's the sidearm meta has never really taken shape, but if it does something cool, then all will be forgiven. I'll eat my words. But right now, I'm like, all right, Devil's
It's like the only.
We'll see you when you see you. That's where I'm at with you.
The only freeze frame I could pull from the trailer is that it will be potentially a solar sidearm. That is literally all, because I could see like a solar wisp in front of it. That's my only guess. Outside of that, I know nothing.
Yeah, listen, shout out to Cryptic. He said in PvP I can get a gun out. If it can outgun Recluse and shotguns, it's a good sidearm. Yeah, I mean, as long as if it offers some type of functionality that really is cool and unique and powerful, then people will use it. But I'm with Kaio. Like, he said, unless this sidearm is making me a great, then I'm in the same pocket. Like, if it's not making me, it needs to do something. Like, it cannot be some basic, kind of perk set. It gotta be unique. Because the community, how we feel. But where you at? What you thinking?
I just got to see. I'm with you guys. Like, I'm not holding my breath, but it's a sidearm. It's been a while. Just have to see.
I was going to try and play devil's advocate, and I can't. It's a sidearm.
You're like, I'll put my effort somewhere else. It's not worth it.
I pulled it up right as you guys started talking about it, and I was looking at it, and I'm like, how can I make this work? And then I really thought about it, and I'm like, I can't argue for this. Like, it's a sidearm. I guess if it does something like really cool, then maybe. But at the end of the day, it is a sidearm. And it's just not going to be good. Like,
guilty by association.
Yeah, I think the last good sidearm we got was Last Hope in Vanilla D2, and then Trespass in Destiny 1. So I don't know. I mean.
Yeah, what was that one? It was a good one back in
Drake's Promise.
Oh, God, don't you start with the potato?
Arguably the worst exotic in Destiny history.
Oh.
Yeah. All right. So, second exotic. I'm saving Bastion for last. Second one, exactly. I'm gonna make you. I gotta make you wait for it. Gotta make you. Gotta tease you a little bit.
Let's go.
So, Symmetry, our scout rifle. This does seem to be the thing we saw in the trailer. Am I wrong?
I think so.
The scout rifle, the PvP trailer, when he's like shoots him in the head a couple times after landing, and then he smashes the bottom like a honed edge shot.
Yeah.
And then it turns into like a fusion rifle.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah, gotta tell you, that joint look crazy.
yeah. Go. I'm curious what you guys think on this one, or how it could work.
If it is a scout rifle, which based on the photo of the 3 Guardians holding it on the page, it looks like it is. Man, that looks awesome. But they make good trailers, right? And let's be honest, you're not going to be getting a 7th column every day.
Yeah, that's true.
So
You're right.
Like, yes, it looks awesome and it sounds cool and the music's pumping and it's rusted lands and you're like, oh man. But I don't know. When it comes to exotics, like I said earlier, everything for me is about time management, how fast I can do things. And if this exotic doesn't accelerate my advancement of loot in some way, then not going to put it on, no matter how cool it is.
Fair. Cognito.
I mean, look.
Any hype from that trailer?
I have been suckered into the hype. When listen, if all you gotta do is have Shax yell out, "What? I'm excited." You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
You know what I'm
Shax.
saying? Come on.
7th column.
Oh wait, real quick side note. All you Titan mains, I understand Saint 14 is back. I get it. I understand the love. But we not going to disrespect the great Shax. Reddit, I've been seeing some very slanderous comments about, Saint 14 needs to kick Shax out, and it needs to be Saint 14.
Well, no, the order that they get kicked out is Zavala goes first.
Yeah.
Shax and Saint can figure out who's like number 1 and number 2, but like, yeah, Zavala's unfortunately not holding the strongman title right now.
I mean, they call Saint 14 the greatest Titan that ever lived. So I don't think it's a contest.
I was gonna say that he did actually say that. So
I get it, but we're not going to disrespect the great Shax. All right, we cannot disrespect. As a warlock, that is the Titan. One of my favorite Titans. You know what I'm saying? I just love Shax, but I just feel there's a lot of Shax slander going on now that the new guy's in town. He's back.
All right, anyway. So in a room you lock Saladin, Shax, and Saint. Who comes out alive?
We know Saint gonna win, but I'm rolling with Shax. I'm rolling with Shax, man. Listen, he saved the city. Okay, he broke protocol. He saved the city. Never forget the law. The reason why him and Saladin and Zavala is tight like this, but Shax didn't listen, broke the formation of protocol, but he's responsible for saving the city because of his action, and now he's being penalized. But anyway, I'm done with my lore rant. Go ahead, Teddy.
In your example, if Shax and Saladin team up, you think they could win against Saint 14? Because they're both pretty smart Titans. Like, they're not, I mean, Shax is a little abrasive, but Saladin's pretty, he's down to earth, right? Like, he knows what's going on, right? Like, you think if they teamed up, they could take him out, or Saint 14's still going?
They're all gonna punch each other at the same time, and the universe is just gonna collapse. But
Dragon Ball Z style.
Thing. Yeah, just.
I mean,
anyway.
The Shades defense.
We digress.
We digress. It took like a nation of millions just to even stop him. They had to figure out something the whole Vex. So we'll see. But shout out to Saint. Just want people, don't forget. Don't forget.
All right. And then the big question mark of all, Bastion, sir. Thoughts about this thing besides the fact that it is absolutely gorgeous?
Look at that thing.
That's a beautiful weapon. That
is a beautiful weapon.
Reminds me of the Trials Year 2 weapons. The non-adept ones, though, the blue ones.
Yes. Complete Trials 2 aesthetic. Yeah. It looks cool. Now, have we confirmed weapon type? We've officially confirmed
I've heard
it looks like an auto.
But yeah, it doesn't look like a fusion.
It looks like an auto
I've
rifle.
Heard. Unless they're just saying a fusion is the scout rifle. But we know Scout's one, and he uses it as a scout rifle in the PvP match of Symmetry, like the Titan in the middle holding it. Not Titan. Yeah, Titan. That's why people have been saying it's fusion a lot, but I honestly don't know.
I don't know, man. But listen, I'm excited just off the aesthetic alone. That thing looks cool.
The only thing we see in the trailer is the point where he's looking through a scope and there's like a symbol of the eagle and like a sun, and then it like rotates and like splits apart kind of as he fires, and then it goes white and you can't see anything. But there's a frame, those two kind of like line up and then split. I have no idea how it's going to work, but that's the only thing that would kind of work because the sight on it is not enclosed. It's not like a fully enclosed scope. and it looks like it's just kind of got one of those projection scopes on it. So I think it's that 2 seconds you see it in the trailer because it's got 14 in the little illumination, and then. But yeah, it's like as they never fire it, so I have no idea what it is.
I don't know. Somebody said linear fusion, maybe. I don't know, man. It is very unique. I'm very curious where they go with that. But
I mean, shout out to Houndish and him showing up the video of like sundial linear fusion, and it's some weapon. Don't even know. But yeah, there's big speculation.
And I believe linear fusion is on the mod list for weapons, right?
Yep.
This one. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're focused a lot more on range and precision. So
yes.
that pretty much covers the calendar, but we have this giant gaping hole at the end where there's 3 weeks of nothing.
Yes.
I wanted to ask your opinions on that before I say mine, because I already threw mine in a video.
It's Iron Banner.
Oh,
3
Lord.
weeks of Iron Banner.
Oh,
Yeah, just
Lord.
they're like
in case you didn't make max level, just pinnacles, and the bounties rotate on a daily basis, so you can get pinnacles daily.
I can see the trailer right now. DJ's gonna come out and he's gonna be like, "Yo, dog, I heard you like Iron Banner," and there's just 3 weeks of Iron Banner. Like that's.
Please, can someone get Deej to say "Yo, dog"?
Yo, dog, I love it. I would love that. I would pay money for that.
I would lose my mind.
Don't do me like that, Teddy. Don't do me like that.
I mean, you know, there's gonna be at least 1 week Iron Banner in there, right?
Oh, we know.
Like,
Oh yeah.
We know.
it's as usual. And to be honest, I kind of like it when the season winds down with nothing at the end because it. Kind of gives you this time to catch up, and if you're missing something or something you're chasing, you can kind of sit down and be like, all right, this is what I need to do, and I have this amount of time. It kind of goes back to that, like I hate and like the calendar because it gives me this weird schedule, right? Like it's like, oh, if I'm behind, I have this time, and then if I so I don't know. What do you guys think? What do you think's gonna, if they slot anything in there?
You nailed it.
Secret Trials, maybe.
Oh, don't you say? Oh.
They won't do it.
Don't tease his heart.
Yeah, they won't do it.
I got to get to it because Teddy opened the Pandora's box. I'm sorry. It's just, listen, I know Trials, realistically, is probably not going to happen this season. All I'm saying, shout out to Fallout Play, shout out to Ask the Cross, the PvP community. All we're saying is, you just last season dropped the trailer talking about renewed focus, right? Now, granted, we got to see what this, the next week is going to bring when the full patch notes or whatever. But it's like, Ebon, don't you owe me? Oh, my God. You know how I'm about to get.
No, I'm talking about Cryptic in chat. No, you're fine.
Shout out to Cryptic. But it's like, man, it just saddens me. And they need to do something. As a PvP player, a person who loves to jump in the Crucible, it pains my heart, Teddy, that I don't have those pinnacle rewards that PvE players get. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I invest my time now, granted they alluded to something in the TWAB that they've been thinking about. There's gonna be some adjustments, but I just need to see it, man, because at this point it's just unfair, especially with no pinnacle activity with Trials. So if Trials is not coming this season, one, we got to be rewarded for time investment, more than the mats, more than all that other stuff. And it really, they gotta do something, man. Now all will be forgiven if you jump on the stream or you make an announcement and you're giving us, like a hard and fast date as to when this is coming on and what you're gonna do with Trials, stuff like that. But for right now, I just gotta judge it as the PvP renewed focus has been kind of a failure. You know what I'm saying? And they need to really get at that. You know what I'm saying? And I know we got the TWAB and stuff, but it's just frustrating. It really is frustrating. I haven't played PvP at all because I'm not doing it for powerful. Outside of the ritual weapons, once you got your ritual weapon, done. There's no reason for me to go in there because I'm not getting anything for the pinnacle grind. I'm not doing those activities for for powerful gear. So that's just literally where I'm at with it. I just really hope it comes sooner than later. Just this renewed focus.
So let me ask you this then, since you're the PvP guy here, and I generally only go into PvP when there's something I need, and then I eject as soon as I'm done with whatever I'm doing. So do you play Iron Banner? Do you like Iron Banner?
Yes, I play it because I actually look forward to it only because, and I've had this discussion with E, when I've become more of a solo player recently, and it's one of the only resources I can go in solo and get pinnacles.
True.
So it added value. But don't get me wrong, if it didn't really have that, I really wouldn't be playing that as much. And it's not really frequent enough. You know what I'm saying? So that's just where I'm at.
So so my follow-up is, if they added a title for Iron Banner, would you be more
Lord.
incentivized?
If he ever could be
You
Lord,
throw
he's...
Lord on my name already as Lord Cognito? You got me. You won. You won, Teddy. You won.
Because
You won.
I don't know. I've seen this suggested quite a bit on Reddit and people I've talked
Preach.
to, and
Preach.
I think that would do a lot for the PvP community, even though it's
Preach.
small, right? Like, as a title hunter and a triumph hunter, there's only one PvP one. Like, there's only one, and it's the hardest one to get, both by time and skill needed.
Facts.
And I even though I'm not a PvP person and I don't necessarily like playing PvP that much, I think it's important that they have an avenue for something to chase, right? It doesn't mean much, but it's something at least to at least until Trials comes back, right? Or whatever.
I appreciate you empathizing. I appreciate you. I think that is fantastic. To be honest, again, you give us. Again, I'm one of the few people who listen. We know, PvP has issues, and the PvP, no dedicated servers, and we can go on for days about that and cheating and stuff. But I kind of do like the sandbox. I mean, it's far from a D1 player to a D2 Crucible player. I just like the fact that there's multiple weapons. I don't feel like you're always locked in. Yeah, Recluse is good, but I feel it's counters for everything. And I still like the sandbox for the most part. And I would love to get in there. But yeah, like if you throw a title in there, man, oh yeah, like an Iron Banner title. Or my other suggestion is comp. Comp is in this weird place. And it's like, I love the solo queue stuff, but how about giving us a pinnacle in there? You know what I'm saying? Like something.
Oh my God, yes.
Like
Yeah.
comp is supposed to be. There's no trial, so we have to look at comp as the pinnacle activity for PvP right now until Trials comes back. And the fact that comp really has nothing except tied to a couple of a triumph, one triumph, and maybe a couple of weapons here and there that they try to make you go into that direction. There's really nothing there. And it saddens me. Shout out to Black Wings. He said, "Hey, man, Cognito, I'm a solo player." As a solo player, man, I really wish they would at least give that to comp. So I'm going to hold out hope. I did see some tea leaves we discussed in reference to, I think, Damage. He mentioned it. They're looking to do some shakeup. So I'm curious to see how far they go with said shakeup. Go ahead, E.
No, I mean, it was like for you, seriously, like Pinnacles and PvP are so far from each other, it's kind of sad. Yeah. It would be nice, like, what if it's like, okay, so to give a little more population in there, it's like, what if you had to just get like 10 wins for a Pinnacle in comp? Something like that. Like, you don't have to win them all. There's not like a streak required right now. Just a way to, if you want a Pinnacle and you want to go play comp, that's a way for you to do it. Right. I mean, just something, as you were saying, a title for a little incentive was perfect. That'd be great. Another one that's not just completely brutal. But yeah, a little bit of PvP Pinnacle. I mean, people reset their Valor, which, isn't always the hardest thing. But if you reset your Valor, you ought to get something for it. What are you dying at?
Kaya, he said, I feel like whenever PvP team is in a meeting, it's two guys in a big room and many empty seats. I'm sorry, that was hilarious.
Oh, yeah, PvP's like, hey guys, so we've got...
we got the whole team together. Let's talk about PvP.
Yeah, all two of you.
I
mean, that is one thing a lot of people have said. It's like this renewed PvP focus. Like, actually, we may as well bring it up now. I mean, you have a renewed PvP focus. Damage had a good reply on Twitter. He got pretty candid about it. I don't know if you guys had a chance to read that one yet.
No, I didn't.
Did you? No.
Oh. Yeah, so he got pretty in-depth, just saying it's like, we've had the new director for solo queue. We've changed some of this stuff up. We worked on some balancing. He kind of had gone through some stuff, but it's also the balance of how many resources they have and things of that nature. And there's a lot of things that they've got. So he had a decent candid answer out there. It's not the answer that we want right now, but it's the one we just kind of have to deal with. But as you're saying, there's smaller things like titles and a little Pinnacle nodule that's not, like, I know some stuff's not easy to program. I'm not a developer. I'm not going to claim to be factual. But I have a hunch some things are pretty not difficult to add in. Like 10 wins for a Pinnacle or Iron Banner title checking boxes and tracking things. Like, those things can't be overly hard to give the PvP side something else. Like, if there was a Lord title, you would have just been a double thumbs up to, you don't even care what else is there, but if the title said Lord, you're like, I'm done. This is the best expansion ever, best season ever, don't even care. Like,
they could 500 kill me to death with any weapon. I'd be in there.
and you'd be fine.
I'd be in there, brother. Again, it's just for the sake of balance and fairness. Like, again, if you're a PvP guy, Destiny 2 is really not the game for you. Like it's so weighted the other way, and it's just like, man, I love to play PvP. You know what I'm saying? Is it perfect? No, but I do enjoy it, and they got to get to it, man. They just got to get to it. So hopefully, I'm praying, man, holding out hope.
Isn't it weird that they marketed D2 launch as a competitive game?
Yes.
Isn't that a bizarre world we live in?
Oh, how the tables have turned, flipped upside down, and rotated to another. Yeah, it's very strange.
Yeah, well, that's what I got.
So yeah, the calendar it looks reasonable. I mean, for a $10 season, it's definitely going to have different bosses. We'll have the Empyrean. We've got a couple exotic quests. You've got new Mercury weapons with random rolls. The time lost weapons they talked about. 3 different exotics. I still have an issue. I'm just going to say it right now that by buying the season pass, you just get an exotic right then.
Yeah,
that still bugs me a little bit.
Quick question, Teddy. Do you think Perfect Paradox remains legendary?
Yes.
Okay.
I think, and I don't know. Obviously, I'm just speculating here. I don't know what the story is, but I think that we aren't going to break the timeline in any way, and we're not going to save Saint 14. I think we're going to pull him from some timeline, and we're going to fulfill the Perfect Paradox and end up giving him the gun, because that's what has to happen, right? At least it's what they've laid out in the lore, right? We at some point we have to give it to him, so that he can go and fight his final fight, and then he can give us the gun, and live the Perfect Paradox. But I think it'll be legendary. I think there might be like a quest or some sort of them like giving it to you pretty early on, quickly, so that you don't have to go do that awful Mercury quest adventure thing.
Time ball, great.
Yeah, whatever they did.
Another time suck.
Great adventure, like amazing adventure. Probably the highlight of Curse of Osiris was doing the getting the Perfect Paradox, but it's like gated behind this super bizarre weapon forging foundry thing, and it just. I think they'll just give you the gun flat out if you don't have it already.
No.
I agree. I hear you. Curious.
See how?
Yeah.
On the gun?
Yeah, just think Perfect Paradox, the form.
I think you guys pretty well covered it. Yeah, I think it'll be legendary. I don't think they'll make it an exotic in itself, if it's already been a legendary as it is.
It's so weird, though, because Perfect Paradox exists in the game already.
Yeah,
I'm curious to see how they handle it. It's just random.
This is, again, where the whole time, wave, rewind, fixing some things, much less. We may not fix it, but they may fix their timeline to work with.
I was just talking about the weapon itself, being that we have already acquired said weapon.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. Yeah, we'll continue.
But yeah, I mean, that pretty much does wrap up the season look. And then it says, here come the bullets. So the bullet points for the TWAB. I'm going to save one topic till the end, so you'll notice the very obvious one that I skipped. I want to cover a couple highlights, though, because they did actually fix a couple quality life things that I have to say big thumbs up to.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the exotic engram and faded engram have been collapsed into a single new exotic item. When opened, it awards a new exotic if any remain to be collected. So you're working a checklist if any. Otherwise, it contains a random piece of armor. This is perfect.
I know you guys can't see me, but double thumbs up.
There we go.
Feel a spirit, baby.
Like, this is one of those, like, somebody, like, look, okay, how can this work the best? Done. They nailed it. Like, they hit the checklist, and then you get armor rolls. You don't need weapon copies anymore.
Yes.
Thank you. Shout out to Destin and IGN World and anybody else. Anarchy's going up to 10%.
Woo, he gets a whole 5%.
I literally saw Paul Tassi tweet something out saying, hey, this is really cool. And Destin was like, this is not the most important thing. And literally tweets back the Anarchy percentage up. That was his reply. I was like, that is classic. So
that's classic. Funny. Yeah, shout out to Destin. I don't mean to laugh at his pain, but it is a funny follow.
I laugh at it.
I know that's your boy. I just think that's hilarious.
75 more runs, and I get to throw him an anarchy party. So, or whatever. No, 65 more runs.
Has Team Concerned been helping him with this?
Nope. Well, he just I mean, he'll ask me sometimes, but he'll LFG it usually, and sometimes I'll hop in and help him, and most of the time he just kind of gets it done on Tuesday and then cries a little. And
shout out to Destin. I met him a few times. Really cool dude.
Escalation Protocol's getting a change. So the Wave 7 chest no longer requires a key. Chest can be opened every successful Wave 7 attempt. Each time it opens, the chest awards one piece of armor until your character has all of them. Afterwards, it is a random piece of armor. So fully changing up how that works. The weapons will still Escalation Protocol weapon drops were not touched and are still cumulative stream boss drops, that stuff. So the weapons are changing.
If I could comment on Escalation Protocol real quick.
Yeah,
Please.
This change took way too long.
Way too long.
Like
Facts.
the bizarre system to get the key charged, to get the armor, was like, and you can only do one a week per character.
Yes.
And it was like, what a strange odd, and I wish this had come.
this was
like
them stretching out Curse of Osiris, or no,
Warmind, I guess, but I mean, I don't know. It's good they're doing it finally because I think the EP armor is one of the coolest looking armor sets.
Yeah.
But I don't know if people are actually gonna go back and play EP now. I don't know if that's.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, you're right. And that's one of my favorite activities too. I love EP.
Yeah, it was
Minus
cool.
no
Five
matchmaking.
bosses too. Yeah.
Yeah.
If they could just put matchmaking in there,
Perfect.
it'd be great.
That's arguably one of my favorite if it just had matchmaking.
Weapon mods are going to be 500 instead of 5,000 Glimmer.
All right, all right.
Bonus.
Double thumbs up.
Yep. Repeatable bounties at the gunsmith.
Also double thumbs up.
Holler.
Merge the Strike Crucible Gambit gunsmith weekly bounty to field calibration. So you're not forced into anything you don't want to do.
Yeah, that's me. I haven't finished that bounty because of the trifecta for a while. I just want to play one or two things.
Yeah, and then we did get some changes to a couple of subclasses as well. Thunder Crash had increased damage, in-flight damage, and flight time, which doesn't hurt anything. Thunder Crash could always use a little buff, especially PvE, I would say. It probably can always never hit hard enough.
Fun fact: there is a medal triumph. It's worth 0 points in PvP for killing.
Why those even exist, I don't know.
Killing. I think it's 2 or 3 people in Thunder Crash while you have flown for 5 seconds, minimum of 5 seconds.
Wow, that's random.
And man, that triumph sucked. That one was.
You got it, apparently.
So I
Or
got
were you
it.
just like waiting in PvP with like an arc sniper and being like, "Here he comes."
No. You have to be the one doing the Thunder Crash, killing 2 or 3 people. I think it's 2 people.
But
you
are
have
in
to-
the air?
No, you have to be flying for 5 seconds.
Oh, you have to
minimum.
fly
so
for
it's the
5
length
seconds.
of distance for.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I think the
It's
super.
hard.
I think the super only lasts like 6 seconds, and towards the end you
my
start falling, so it became difficult.
Yeah.
So I already have the triumph, but big thumbs up.
Little extra flight time is good.
Yeah, extra flight time and base damage.
Night Stalker Way, the Pathfinder, Vanish in Smoke. Added a short period after invisibility is applied where firing weapons or performing other actions will not break invisibility. And then Void Walker, Handheld Supernova, adjusted grenade charge time so it lines up with the animation and FX. This should make it feel more consistent. I hate that friggin'
It's
thing.
your favorite.
I hate Handheld Supernova, but I'm not going to get into this
We
argument.
ain't gonna.
against two
That'll
warlocks.
be a tangent. You
No.
don't want to know about that one, Teddy. That's a Titan Warlock beef.
I totally
stuff
don't
down.
use handheld supernova ever.
Me
Not
neither.
once.
I
I
don't
don't.
use
I don't know what that is.
But you know, the Titans, if they want to complain, this is what they complain about. But it's cool.
A couple Crucible maps. Rusted Lands we know is coming. Dead Cliffs, Legion's Gulch, Retribution, and Solitude. I think the ones they pulled are coming back.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
And then they're removing Emperor's Respite, Equinox, Firebase Echo, and Vostok. There's a couple in there that I actually kind of enjoy. So
I like Emperor's Respite.
nobody likes Equinox. I don't
I don't like any of those. So if I could pat the man or woman on the back that removed them, I would.
Wait, hold
Thank
on.
you, sir or madam, for your kind work.
Refresh my memory. Which one is Equinox? Give me a visual picture. real quick.
Isn't that like a
the 9 map. That's an L shape.
Oh, that can go in the bushes. Yeah, I hate that. Blue. Yeah, that's out. Okay. Firebase. Wait, Firebase Echo is the little Cabal one with the big circle, right?
Yeah.
I like that one. Which
No,
one's Firebase?
that's
Which one's-
Firebase Echo is the one on Earth, I think, or is that the one with the drill? That's a B, I think, or I might be getting that mixed
Firebase
up.
Echo is the one where there's the shielded tunnel in the upper deck where the heavy ammo's sitting up at the top and point B is below it underneath.
Oh yeah, that
with,
map
like,
can go in the bushes. That map sucks.
I can't remember what this map is.
I just googled it. I know what you're talking about now. It's got the 2
just
shields at the
Google it.
top with the long
Yeah, the two-
hallway and the
like
heavy.
the long, like tiny hallway with the shield, like windows, the shield windows that you can see up through, but you can't shoot through.
Oh,
but you can
that,
jump
yeah,
out and then drop
yeah,
on
yeah,
B.
yeah. I hate that one. Yeah, right. And that's the
Yeah.
one where B is underneath the
B is
catwalk,
straight
so to
below it.
speak.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep,
Oh,
B is
yeah.
below
That one going to
catwalk.
bushes. Yo, you're right, Teddy. Yeah, I
Yeah.
forgot about that.
That one-
And Vostok is yeah.
That one was made
Vostok.
for breakneck specifically, so I think that's why it suffers
Yes.
on other.
Yeah,
or
that one
not
can go. I
breakneck,
don't like that one.
breakthrough.
And then Vostok is the outdoor snowy one.
Iron Banner one. That's the Iron Banner themed one.
Yeah,
That's the one where Saladin used to be at in D1.
Yeah, I flip flop on that map a lot. I like it or I hate it, but
I'm in the middle. Okay, so what happened to the map that was the big circle? And it was like Cabal themed. It was like, it was red and it had the big circle and damn, they took it away. I thought that was what Firebase Echo was, but I see what you reminded me of. But
and Emperor's Respite is the other one that's leaving, and that is the one that is.
I like that. That's the Callus one.
Yeah, it's the
I
Callus
love the way that
one,
one looks, but that map plays awful.
Yeah, it is weird for playing.
Oh,
So, 2 more topics, guys. I know this has been a long one. Thank you guys for being here. This has been a long point tonight, but there are a couple other topics because we've been into it. So, you guys can tell me which order you want to talk about this. Eververse, and then new level power cap.
Let's go with
Which
new
one
level.
do you want to tackle?
New level first, because I think Eververse is going to be a heated topic.
Yes.
Oh, I think this one might be too, but all right. So, powerful and pinnacle reward caps. Power cap is up to 960 from 950, so plus 10. And pinnacle cap is 970, up from 960, also plus 10. Thoughts?
I kind of expected this. I didn't call it exactly, but I was like, they're not going to do like a plus 50 again. So I figured it was going to be like a plus 10 or plus 20 or something. So it kind of makes sense. I kind of don't like that this sets the precedent for the 10 pinnacle power of this season basically being pointless, because if I don't want to grind for it next season, I'll just immediately get that in like a week with all the powerfuls that are available to me, unless they're changing the amount of powerfuls available, which I don't think they will. And because of the recent change to pinnacle drops, I think this makes it way too easy to hit it, but I also think the old way was really bad. So it's kind of that pendulum problem, right, where it's like you had it too hard and now it's too easy. But I don't know, it makes sense. Like, hopefully the activities don't necessarily scale that way. Like a 980 Nightfall on day 1 is still fine, right? Because we're gonna lose the artifact, so all that power you got from the artifact goes away. But I don't know. What do you guys think?
I'm torn.
Tornado?
I'm torn.
I was like, I want to know your thoughts because I have opinions too, but I want yours first.
Mine's short. I'm torn. I mean, again, it messes with my old school Destiny mind. You know what I'm saying? The old school way of doing things, and things change. But I mean, powerful cap, and what Teddy, the part that Teddy said is the part that it needles me a bit about the artifact subtracting. And then we coming back and we're just doing that, and it's just like, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I see both sides of it. I shout out to Tassie, shout out to Lono, those guys. I know they've been going back and forth with this debate on how it would happen. I am surprised it did, because obviously my Destiny mind is conditioned. We're supposed to have a 50 point or whatever, and this is definitely them changing. Again, the only thing I struggle with is just at the end of a season, artifact taking that extra power away. And, I don't know how I feel about it. And then obviously we got to see the pinnacle cap, being that it's just up to 970, that would lend me to think or a guess that they're gonna keep that cadence with the minimal amount of pinnacles, and that is something I really struggle with, especially that I've lately converted into being a solo player, because outside of the raid, which there's no raid, outside of a dungeon, which there's no new dungeon.
You can solo the dungeon though.
Yeah, I mean, but we have to see. Yeah, you can solo the dungeon. We have to see how also Shadowkeep's pinnacles, I'm assuming, are not going to be pinnacle anymore.
They have to be.
I don't know.
The raid in the dungeon, I see. There's no way they take those away. Otherwise, how else are you going to get up there? Those are your main pinnacles outside of Iron Banner.
I would hope so. I would definitely hope so. You know what I'm saying? I want to see how they handle the distribution of pinnacle rewards. That's my biggest problem with the start of this new season into Dawn. So I'm cautiously, I'm a little scared, but we'll see how it goes. Let me give it to you. I know you're ready to go. Chop it to me. Get it.
So for me, this one's interesting just because I've been wondering what they're going to do. And there was a Twitter thread that I read. Not going to say who it was. If you got a chance to read it, cool. If you didn't, it's gone now. But basically the idea here is they're trying to walk a line and balance it between two. So you have your hardcore people who grinded up to 960. And Lono's theory was like, hey, the pinnacle grind, when it was 1s before it was 2s and got easier, now they see that it's easier. Okay, so we'll make it 10 again. But then if you are somebody, say, you have to travel for 2 months and your season gets totally scheduled, you're like, well, I guess I'm just going to catch up with the powerfuls in literally 1 week, probably, to what the old pinnacle grind was that took somebody all season. This also takes, like, your full season grind for, like, the top players. If you're sitting at 960 gear score, you start the season at only pinnacles helping you. Not one powerful reward is going to help you. If you are 960 now, not one powerful reward in the game is going to help you. And that was the same issue whether it was like only artifact 950, 960, and like 960 was just the grind for the year at ones, which was going to be slower. Or same thing now, whether it's just 10, you spent all season knocking out these pinnacles and you get there. And as you said, it might be quicker now. It probably will be fairly faster. But then it's just like, or you wait till the next season and you have it in like, you know, powerful drops in a week and you're done. And then you have the pinnacle grind. You're like a week behind the hardcore player who plays for 3 months straight.
Right.
So then does the hardcore person's time feel valued? And also, all the other powerful things in the game, every single person who does bounties in the tower, your strikes, your gambit matches, your crucible matches, your rotators, all of those have next to no point very quickly.
Bro, I haven't done gambit in weeks. I haven't done activities that I would normally do in weeks because it's no incentive, right? There's no incentive. That's the biggest problem. I think that it's flawed. I'm so glad you said it. It's flawed. Like if they're gonna do this, at least, because to me, you kill off those activities for the hardcore player. So at least you need to offer an option similar to how they did with the Nightfall, where you got your levels, either some type of incentive with wins, score, or something in said activity that was only a powerful, that at least there's an opportunity to get a pinnacle in that based on level of difficulty or whatever. Because that's my problem. Right now, Destiny, the way it's structured, is I am not playing those activities without any pinnacle reward. I'm eliminating once I have that cap, I'm eliminating every powerful thing off the map, which sucks because these activities are real cool to play. I'm sorry, I had to go on. You got me going.
No, I mean, that was the point I was getting at. Yeah. So, I mean, you have all these activities. You have bounties at every one of the characters. I'm like, it's just another roll of something. It's not going to be a good roll in armor, by the way, because most all the things you get from your bounty turn suck. The high stat rolls, and that's a debate for another day. Teddy, we may bring you back if we just do an Armor 2.0 podcast, but because we could go to town on that one. But yeah, that's the big issue that was the main issue that Tassie had, is like, if you don't get the 50 power level buff, you take all the powerful rewards, you take all those activities, and you don't give them a reason to play them. Now, the other side of what they're trying to do, and this is where they are trying to walk a line that they probably shouldn't be doing, is you have them trying to say, hey, what if somebody falls off for Season 8 and Season 9, wants to come back in Season 10? They don't have to go as far to catch up.
Right.
So they're trying to keep the a la carte people somewhat satiated.
I get that. Yeah, I get that.
I was like, that is what that is, but it's like, it's kind of the worst of both, because you devalue the pinnacle grind, because you'll be done with whatever you didn't get in about a week, and then you still have 11 more weeks, and then you're back to the pinnacle again. But then if you get to like, okay, so this season, if we're at 960 for the powerful, we'll have that probably the first week or two. Then I'm like, how much do I care about the pinnacle grind to go to 970 if I know in the first week of, March 10th, if in that first week, that's when I'm probably going to get it? How much incentive is there for me to do that? What do I get out of that?
Facts. I'm curious where Teddy's at with this. I'm very curious.
So I threw all that up in the air, Teddy, so go nuts.
I have a theory.
Let's go.
And I have no evidence to back this up. I just think this is what they were thinking when they initially described the pinnacle reward. So I think that the old pinnacle system from 950 to 960, where you were getting one in every slot and you had to get every slot up, was meant to last the whole year.
Yes.
I think it was supposed to last the whole year, and then I think somebody at Bungie did not do the math and was like, because Reddit immediately was like, "There's not enough drops in a season to do it across 3 characters," and that's assuming you got perfect RNG, which, let's be real, that's never gonna happen. Like that's not gonna happen. So I think, again, I have nothing to back this up other than just like my own intuition and theory that this was supposed to last the whole year, and because of the backlash they got, to their credit, they were really quick to correct it. But I think they swung a little too far in the easier direction, and now it's, I mean, like you said, it really devalues. Like I'm not even 960, and that's because I just don't even care. Like I'm like it just doesn't matter. And now that they put this out, I was like, in a week.
I'm really glad I didn't do it.
Yeah, in a week, I'm gonna get the last drop I need to hit 960, and guess what? I only have to do pinnacles, and you know what?
Yep.
I ain't doing any of those powerful rewards because those are useless. So like that's again, it goes back to this time management thing, right? I'm not gonna do the flashpoint because the flashpoint doesn't give me anything I need, and there's no gear that comes from that that's desirable. So it's I don't know, I agree with you. Like it's this weird problem, and I don't have a solution for it. I think doing the 50 power is also too much, because then you have to balance all these things, right? Like if they raised it by 50, the nightfall has to go up. The nightmare hunts, which if you're still doing them for whatever reason, those now become a joke or easier. The raid now becomes really easy. Or easier because you're doing more damage to things. And since they change how level damage scaling works from 50 to 100, you're doing more now. So there's all those other things they probably considered and were like, it's just easier if we do this 10. But I totally agree with you that it just 100% devalues your hardcore player's time, which, in my opinion, this is 100% opinion, I think that's the audience you cater to. Like, I would consider myself a hardcore player. I'm not the hardest of hardcore players, but and I would consider you guys probably hardcore players as well. But if you cater to them, everything just trickles down, right? Like, and people learn, people adapt, people get better, and it becomes this your community thrives, right? Now there are games and arguments, cases against that that I think where that didn't happen, but that's another topic because I think that's gamer culture more than the game. But I don't know. It's an interesting problem, right? Like how would you guys solve it if you were at Bungie and they gave you, and you're in the meeting room with the 2 people and they're like, figure out this leveling problem, go. How would you guys tackle it?
Like my theory before was, as you said, they swung too far with the 2s. That the pinnacles, multiple things. One, it was meant to last the whole year. Tell us. That would be stage 1. If they're like the 950 to 960 was like, hey, here's this pinnacle grind. It's going to be slow. This is not meant to happen in this season. Let us know. And then people have been like, okay, well, I'll do our best. We know we don't have enough to get it this season. We've looked at the drops. RNG may or may not be there, and the RNG kind of sucks. But if it's meant to be the whole year, that would at least have explained it. The other side is when they swung it to 2s, people are getting up there noticeably faster because you only need 4. And I said this on a previous podcast with you. I was like, somewhere in the range of 0 to 2. Like somewhere in that range. So like maybe you do get a 2. Maybe you get some that are mostly 1s and you get this other one that's 2 and you're like, yes. And you get that little extra bump that kind of pushes you, maybe that little nudge. And then you get a bunch of 1s that kind of start filling the gaps and you get another 2 and you're like, cool. Like that would kind of give a little more. And I know it's only 1 to 2, but like 1 is too slow, 2 is too fast. Just the chance at a 2 gives that little bit where that might help you a little bit. That was my only theory. But I mean, other than that, just if they wanted to keep it at 960, they should have just communicated that and explained, hey, this is going to be a year. But they're just like, they didn't say anything, and people are like, we don't know what's happening, and they didn't even say this stuff in the stream, and everybody's like, why did it take Damage or Dylan tweeting saying there will be a level increase, then it comes in this, and then we see like, why did this take this long?
Yeah. I mean, Teddy, I think it's the problem right now is to devalue enough content, and it just sucks. It really sucks to log into Destiny right now. The last 3 weeks for me has been the same thing. It's like, oh, Iron Banner's a week, okay, I'll play. I can get something out of that. And as far as, like I said, the other activities on that director, they need value. They need value. We even discussed last word, which is a rotating older raid pinnacle thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I remember that was good.
We need more sources. You know what I'm saying? And it's, again, because ultimately it's not even just if they're worried about the power creep. Ultimately, at the end of the day, if they're so concerned about locking it into these 3 activities or what have you, you're devaluing your product. Bungie has a great product. Have a great product like Gambit Prime, all that stuff, and all these different Crucible. All these things are fun things that the community likes to do. But when you just section it off, I have to see those engagement numbers. We know they look at statistics very hard, but we have to see those engagement numbers. We have to see what's going on. But put it this way: if I'm not playing, that's a problem. You know what I'm saying? Like, I rarely stop playing this game. That's how much I love this game. So it's been a very casual focus for me to log in on a Tuesday, see what's going on with the reset. I'm in and out and I'm gone. But, ultimately, got to see if that's where this thing is going to go. I think it needs to be corrected. That's where I'm at. I can't see this, in my opinion, as sustainable for a healthy player base if they keep this cadence. They have to change that, at least on the rewards. That you can't have sectioned off parts of your game completely, devalued and useless. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, I'd have to imagine that a very small number of players hit the power cap to start Pinnacle, so 950 in this case. And so the amount of players now that are only chasing Pinnacle is smaller than the amount of players that are chasing everything else. But then you need other players with you to do these Pinnacle things, which is kind of your problem, Cognito. Which is you can't do half these things solo, or most of them solo. I don't know. Again, it's just a weird problem, right? Like I don't have a solution for it. I don't know how they would tackle it.
Right.
So maybe next season they might have a better way of handling it.
Yeah, we'll see. And we still got one TWAB left for next week.
Yep.
We still have to see, the engagement there and what other changes are coming. We figure that, but that's what I got.
Yeah, we'll have the patch notes on Tuesday, and then kind of see about the final, the new season TWAB, since the season starts on Tuesday. Final piece we've got is the Eververse store. Changes coming to some economy, duplicate purchases, but I think the big one everybody's curious about is the silver-only content. And Teddy, you sound like you had an opinion. So the changes coming to Eververse. Thoughts?
I mean, I think it's smart of them to just release what's going to be silver only at the beginning of the season, because that one guy on Reddit was just leaking it every 3 weeks, and I was constantly checking that. Sorry for saying that while you were
shout out to the one dude on Reddit.
Yeah, and literally every Tuesday, as soon as I would get home or wake up, whatever, I would check, open up Dim, go to vendors, and see what I had checkboxes on for Bright Dust, and I was like, all right, cool, like. I don't have this one. I'm gonna buy this one. If there was something for silver that I felt warranted my money, I would purchase it. But that's usually far in between. But then this leads me into my bigger issue, which is the Bright Dust economy. And I started Shadowkeep with about 70,000 Bright Dust. It could have been higher than that if I didn't spend all of it for bad juju and just grinded it like a normal
human.
Shout
out to Cal was taking it. Yeah. Everybody's Bright Dust. Shout out to the trophy room.
That was definitely intentional on their part, and I knew it.
You know damn well it was.
Yeah, and I knew it, and I didn't care. I was like, whatever, it doesn't matter. In hindsight, I probably shouldn't have, but we didn't know what was coming at that time. So, but I think Fitzy or someone on Twitter, shout out to him and whoever did it, did the math, and it was like the amount of Bright Dust that you're getting currently, and with the changes even, it's currently it's not even enough to buy one item. If you did everything on every character that you could possibly do every week, it's like just shy of enough to buy one item. Or an exotic item, I think. You can buy like the legendary and blues and stuff, but an exotic item that's like 2,000 plus or something, whatever, it's not enough. And with the new changes coming, you will have enough, but that includes events, which is their change, right? They're changing it so that events now also award the same amount. But even then, what if I don't play that event? What if I don't have time to do all three characters? So what, and you're telling me, this thing's only there for a week, and typically Brightest items are only sold once, just like the silver items. Again, it's this weird place that they kind of sit in, because on the one hand, I get it. They're a company, they're business first. It's business first, video game second. They might not see it like that, but from the outside, that's how I perceive it. They have to make money to survive, to exist, and so I get it. And as long as people keep buying stuff, they'll keep making more. The duplicate protection thing, I think, is is a warm welcome, and now
Yes.
now that Eververse will just flat out tell you that you've what you have, whereas before certain items you could buy twice, which I thought was like super bizarre.
Yeah, that's weird.
I'm not really sure. I'm glad that they're listening to feedback, and I know they constantly say that, but because I kind of know some of them, I do know that they do take this stuff seriously. So
Absolutely.
I never when I know it's a meme, and they we kind of make fun of them for it sometimes, but at the end of the day, that's what they do, right? Like they listen, and sometimes they don't communicate what they're thinking, and I think that's something they could improve on. But
Yes.
my bigger issue with a lot of this Eververse stuff is actually the quality of the Eververse items. I still don't quite understand why Eververse gets all the coolest stuff, but my in-game armor is a reskin. And this topic's been beat dead
Let's go.
1,000 times on Reddit and Twitter and wherever, but it is maddening to me that Eververse. I know for a fact Eververse is going to have the best looking armor. Let's just be real. This season.
Let's
that
call it.
Empyrean cartographer this season is gorgeous.
Yeah, like and I'm gonna lose my mind if there's another reskinned armor in the game. I used to not care about reskins because I know that Destiny's a fashion game for a lot of people, but for me personally, I always put on whatever's optimal. I never care what I look like. That's just how I play. I'm in the minority when I say that. I know people don't think like that, but whatever the optimal loadout is for the thing I'm doing, that's what I'm gonna put on. It's pretty rare that I take off the optimal loadout. So fashion for me is out the door, but when I'm looking at the same armor over and over again, like, come on. Like, I don't know, do something. Bring back faction rallies. The faction armor looked cool. The fact that Iron Banner is getting a reskin for the second time, it's not even the first time, it's the second time. Like, come on, guys. I'm not a developer. I'm not going to pretend like I understand how long it takes or the resources or the time, but I have to imagine that there's a pretty dedicated team of people that's making this stuff.
Talk about it.
And with each armor set, I know you got to make 3 because there's 3 different characters. They're not that different. Like the accents are a little, similar, slightly different, but it's more or less the same, right? Like it can't be that hard, right? There has to be some other reason or motive or something. But we'll never get that answer, right? Even if I ask them point blank privately, they're never going to give me that answer. So I've just come to accept that it's the way it is, and I'll support them where I feel like it's warranted, and I'll criticize where I also feel like it's warranted. So I don't. What do you guys think? I kind of that was a long rant, but
no, that was great.
No.
That was great, man.
Cognito, take it away.
Ooh, man, where do I begin with this? Eververse is always a very interesting subject.
Necessary evil.
Probably
is the way I like to. This is the way I like. I mean, evil's a strong word, but that's what it is, right? Like it has to exist.
Yeah, it has to exist, right? It's just one of those things, that it's just one of those things where it's like, look, we know they at least they're transparent with us and saying that, hey, this is helping us as a studio. I remember one comment Luke made. He said, because of Eververse, whatever, it helped fund some other bit of content. When
Whisper of the Worm helped fund Outbreak Prime.
Yes. Oh, it was Whisper of the Worm?
Whisper of the Worm ornaments helped fund the Outbreak mission.
Yes. So when I hear stuff like that, I'm like, okay. But on the flip side, where I'm with Teddy is that it's like, okay, we've had it now for a while, and I'm going to be 1,000% real with y'all. It's to the point where I'm more excited to log on Tuesday because Eververse's refresh is going to be something exciting to see rather than vendors in the game. Like, that's a problem. Like, if I don't care what Shax and, all the other major NPCs have, but I'm coming over there to see what Tess is talking about, you know what I'm saying?
Then it's working.
But
it's working as intended for them.
Cognito, they put in a pink mini sparrow. You got to buy it, right? Like
I got to buy it. Listen, and I'm guilty. I am the first to admit if there is something remotely fire in there, I am putting the money, throws money at the screen. That was the expression.
Oh, yeah.
That was me. I'm the throw money at the screen guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, I admit it. I fall victim to it, but there has to be a balance, right? And when Teddy's talking about people doing the math of the algorithm or what it would take to earn some of this stuff, you know what I'm saying? Then coupled with the fact that now there's silver only content. You know what I'm saying? There has to be a little bit of a balance in that regard. And I think right now it's skewed. Now, they are saying they are listening to feedback. You know what I'm saying? They are saying that they hear what we're saying in reference, and we've heard that before. But at least I'm confident that there will be some changes. I'll put it this way: I was kind of upset at the end of season of Opulence when they got rid of all of the Eververse bounties, right? Because are they still in game?
Nope, they're gone.
They're gone.
Right, that to me was weird. Because I'm like, okay, I get silver only, but you have so crippled us with the amount of the resources to get bright dust. Like, you're really going in the other direction. You know what I'm saying? And it's tough because you love this studio. You want them to survive. You want them to thrive, right? But at the same time, if everything is behind there, it's like, man, like, there should never be a point where Eververse is so much dominatingly cooler than in-game rewarded armor sets and stuff like that. Like, we're getting there now. Like, it is so much better to look at, the battle pass armor than the raid armor. That's a problem. That's a problem. You know what I'm saying? Like, we shouldn't be looking so much better. Like, you have to reward the gameplay. You know what I'm saying? And that's the struggle. So it's tough, man. I do like the transparency that they put this in here, though. You know what I'm saying? I want to give them credit. I don't want to make this a complete bash fest. You know what I'm saying? But they're still not there. It's still skewed way too much in one direction, and it's got to fix. But that's my rant with the whole Eververse thing. Where are you at with this?
I mean, I'm kind of with Teddy. It's like I started the season at like 70,000 bright dust, and I've been really fickle with like spending it at all because we do creep up at such a slow pace. And also, they're only putting bright dust into the events. Yeah, the Dawning will be a month long, but it's still just an event. Like, and the other side of it, as you guys are saying, is completely accurate. Why does all of the cool armor have to be in there? Not like, give me, like, the dungeon could have just a cool, what happened to just the damn, like, give me Zolmak, give me a suit to look like Zolmak in the damn dungeon. Beat him like 5 times and start checking boxes on a triumpher. Beat, different, I don't know, something in there. Or a ship from the dungeon that actually looks like it's kind of on fire, because when we used to do, like, raids, what was the coolest thing to get? The raid ships. Now you do a 980 Nightfall and you get a reskin trash ship. I'm sorry, I got that 980 ship and I was like, wow, this is nothing
the
new.
Weed Whacker, Vex offensive stuff. You're not feeling the aesthetic.
Oh, that wasn't even the one I was talking about. But yeah, that's so it's like the Empyrean Cartographer is the set this season. It's gorgeous. It's got cool colors. It's like very almost royalty looking. It looks sick. And like the raid, actually I've seen some people in the raid armor, they do look kind of cool. But it is like one of the few. There's not many places to earn hardly anything that looks good. And it doesn't have to be everywhere. And they can have some sick looking stuff in the store. And they are going to, and this is where the issue of like, hey, if 50% of the stuff that was sold for Bright Dust over the course of Undying, they're going to take that up to 80% of everything available for Bright Dust in Dawn. We still can't get that much Bright Dust. I've saved a lot, just like some of you guys have. But for a new player who logs in, they're still screwed and they're just buying it. Or they're not. And it's also some of the prices on these things.
Woo.
If they were cheaper, I would buy more of them. I'm looking at like the sets for armor and I'm going, your expansion is $10 and you want $21 for a set, like one set of armor? I'm going, excuse me?
Yeah, that's. I was about to bring that up actually. It's hard to justify a $10 item when your expansion is also $10.
Are you saying that's a false equivalent? Are you implying, Teddy, that
it's I can, and it's kind of like it's a business practice, and I understand they may look at other things, and that's a piece of like what is your stuff valued at. But in the other side, you have to find that supply and demand, and I don't know what their data says. They have plenty of it. Maybe it's selling. I don't know.
It's definitely selling. She's out here moving, baby.
But I guess like if they creeped some of that stuff down, or what if they had done like, towards the end of the season, hey, if you've waited this long and you haven't bought it, hey, here's like a end of season sale on some of this stuff. It's 50% off.
Let's get them Black Friday discounts and that's
something.
She should have had a Black Friday sale, man.
Oh, they did. It was on the Bungie store.
Yeah, and I did get a shirt on there because shout out to Brian Marcus.
They had a
that
sick
shirt
emblem.
looks awesome.
Oh yeah, Brian, he's a killer. Yeah, he's a beast.
Yeah, but yeah, it's just the price per thing. It's like when the Empyrean Cartographer set is 2,100 for a set of armor. An ornament is 800. I'm like, I understand. I want to pay your artists, and I respect all of them. They are amazing at what they do. But in turn, if you don't put so many of them out of reach, if I was like, if I spent $10 and I got like 2 or 3 things, I would more frequently spend that $10 because I feel like I was getting a decent value for it. And people will say Fortnite skins are $20. Well, that's a ripoff I would never pay either. It's like that's just, I don't know, just bring some of the prices down, make the Bright Dust come more frequently. Like, it's 200 for the weekly and 10 per repeatable bounty. The only person who got to enjoy that one is Bagel 4K, who has like more repeatable bounties than anybody else. He's the only one whose Bright Dust this season has gone up.
Salute
Everybody
to
else.
Salute. Wow.
Everybody else's Bright Dust has been dwindling fast and hard. And you should
Shout us
reward
up,
those
too.
players who get like level 250. Let them buy one. Let them buy 1 or 2 exotics. There's enough stuff in there that you're still gonna taunt us with money and be like, "Hey, I still got all this cool stuff. I know you want it." But at least if I earn 1 or 2 things, I can buy like that one extra thing. The kid who can't ask his parent for a credit card, but can play many hours because for some reason his parents don't care how much he plays. This is just a weird hypothetical.
Not uncommon, but yeah.
Yeah, it's like, it's fine. Just go play your game. You're fine. You just raise yourself. But in the end, it's like, at least they might have a chance. Hey, if I work really hard, play a lot, do these bounties, I can buy that one thing by the end of the year. You're making it so hard that you can't even do that. And I think that's, as you said, it's like one exotic unattainable within a season. That's too far. Like, you need to either balance the prices or give us more Bright Dust, because that's, I think, the part, however much is out there for 50% or 80%, not everything's going to be available. That's fine. The Bright Dust economy, I think, is the harder issue that needs looked at this point.
Yeah. No, I agree, man. It's a tough one. It's a tough one, but yeah, changes must be made.
They what?
Not just said changes got to be made, man. Like, got to be made at some level, you know.
So yeah, just for everybody's heads up, if you made it this far in the podcast, then cool, because you guys are hardcore and rock stars. So you guys are amazing, actually. So the big thing at this point is, if you haven't done anything for the season, you have about 4 days to do it, and then it's all going away. So check the page, see what triumphs and titles and activities you may need to do in case you're trying to finish things up. That would be something you might want to check on quickly. And other than that, that is kind of where they wrapped up the TWAB, and I think that's probably plenty for us this week because we are coming up on like 3 hours.
Oh yeah, it's a long one.
So we have abused this man's time, but Teddy, you have been.
Oh, I enjoyed talking to you guys. This is fun.
It's been amazing to make it through this one. Thank you all for hanging out this long as well. You guys have been great. We're going to wrap it up, but don't run off. I do want to send you guys over to another Twitch channel so we can raid somebody. So first thing before we go, Teddy, tell them what you got going on. If they can find you anywhere, just find you on Twitter, anything like that. Let them know what you got going. What are you working on? What are you looking forward to? What you got going in the future?
Yeah, so I'm not a streamer. I actually kind of live mostly a private life, so I'm a little more secluded. But you can find me on Twitter at Teasing Teddy. It is TeasingTeddy, all one word. I'm pretty good about responding to things or anything that pops up. I'm mostly just trolling people with memes and gifs. That's kind of my forte. Like I said, I don't stream or anything. I mostly play Destiny. I go to work, go to school, do all that, all that fun stuff. And thank you guys for having me. This was a blast. This is super fun.
Thank you, brother. Got to bring you back too, man.
Yeah.
Love the takes. Love everything you brought. Fantastic.
Cognito, what about you, sir?
Yeah, man. You already know Lord Cognito. First of all, again, thanks to Teddy for coming through, man. Awesome guy. Got a chance to meet him at Guardian Con. And he, first of all, Warlock main and Controller gang. Guardian Brothers.
I gotta clip that intro you made, man. That was like, I don't think my wedding will be that good. Like,
you just gotta hire him for the wedding.
Yeah, I guess.
Introducing.
Yeah.
Salute, brother. I always have fun doing them, and just researching people in the community. And yours is a cool story. And obviously, we got a chance to see you at when we were at the Fire Team chat. What was it? E? We were both sitting there during the panel.
Yeah, we were front row for the
We're
live
front
Fire
row
Team
for the
show.
battle, yeah. So we got to see our boys, and Teddy came up. I'm like, oh, that's what's up, you know.
Yeah.
So it's just really cool to see, you know, to put the faces to the names in the Twitter accounts and stuff like that. So I always love that type of experience, and hopefully you're at Guardian Con. GCX, excuse me. GCX.
Oh, 100%.
GCX.
Last year,
All right,
last year was actually
definitely.
my first year.
Nice.
I've been wanting to go for a long time, but the stars kind of didn't align. And then I'll make the story a little short, but some stuff happened, and then some stuff didn't happen. But I ended up going with Dustin and CJ, and that was
Nice.
that was a blast. And I can't imagine not going to that. So Florida's not so great. Sorry to anyone that lives in Florida, but
It's a bit hot that time.
yeah. But Guardian Con GCX, yeah, I'm super pumped for that. So I'll see you guys there.
Absolutely,
next
we'll
year,
run into each other again,
Yeah.
brother. Absolutely. But yeah, man, for me, the same old thing. At Lord Cognito on Twitter, Iron Lord Podcast, YouTube. The Lords will be returning to the realm this Sunday, again, 11 a.m. Eastern. We will have a Switch content creator. Guy by name was the Flannel Fox. Very cool YouTuber. We will be talking that. We'll also do some Game Awards nomination. We have this little fun series we call Crown Your Lord. So everyone's going to do their predictions. What they gonna think, what game was gonna win in what category, if Death Stranding is gonna sweep this thing, you know, say all that good stuff. So it should be
A lot
fun.
of Death Stranding and Control would be mine. So I'm just guessing. I haven't played either, actually. So
There will be a very highly contested tally up of the votes, and then what we do the following week is we crown the winner based on who guessed it correct. So yeah, check us out on that. Obviously, Iron Lord Podcast, and of course, lordsofgaming.net. Really appreciate all the support you guys have been giving us. The team has really been putting some great articles out there. We got a couple of Destiny articles right now, and we had Josh Redding on the show. He put up in reference to the reveal and the fact that the Lords predicted it. We were the first predict to the whole Osiris and possibly Sate 14 from way back. So
Nice.
check that out. So support the guys. But yeah, that's what I got, man.
I'm going to be watching something on one monitor and spending a whole lot of time in Vex Offensive on the other.
Oh, someone's going for a title.
Undying. Literally, it's all Vex Offensive that's basically left. So that's what remains for me. If I make it through, you guys will see that title sitting underneath there. If my sanity can survive it, I've got the house to myself this weekend, so it's just me and the dogs, and we'll just see what happens. So that's the goal. But you guys can find me on twitch.tv/Ebontis, YouTube, Ebontis. If you find the cheetah and my name, you've probably tripped into the right place. So thank you guys as always for the support. Climbing, trying to see if I can be an official GCX content creator by the time it comes around. I got about 6,500 subs to go, so we're trying. So 50K is apparently that mark, and you guys have been really supportive, so I can't thank you all enough. It's amazing.
Let's get them there, y'all. Let's get them there. Come on.
So thank you all very much. And again, as always, if you guys check the comments, if you're listening on audio and you made it to the end, you guys are all awesome. Right now, if you guys are on Twitch, I'm going to send you guys over to Miss Noodle. She's playing Destiny. She's really cool, very nice. So go say hi to her for us. But for all of us here, Teddy, what we try to do, you'll probably recognize this from Fire Team Chat. But as the title of the podcast is the last word, we literally end it with those specific words. So I'm going to wrap up the episode number. And then when I say, and it has been, we all try and coordinate the last word
Messily.
together. But Discord always screws this up.
Just
so.
be early when he say it.
Got
That's
it,
what
got
you
it.
do.
Don't wait on me. You guys
Yeah.
say it, and then I'll chime in. So, all right. So it has been episode 83, December 6th. Our awesome guest, Teasing Teddy. Find him on Twitter, Cognito. It's been great. Thank you guys very much. And it has been
The last word.